You got to wait for a gapper.
That is fair. Down the right field line. Giambi on his way to third.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Oh, brother. Good morning, and good morning. It was a late night for all of us, and no doubt. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. You can find us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We always ask, if you would, please subscribe to the program. You can also find us on Facebook, where the show is streaming on the Chatterbox Sports page. And if you prefer to join us in podcast form, by all means, please do so. Search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. What a night. What a night. Crowd was great. Weather was great. And the Bengals were great to start the game. They take the opening kickoff. They drive down the field, settle for a field goal. Then they get a pick. Go down the field, touchdown, Jamar Chase, and you're in business. But then the worm turned. A missed point after. That's 4 of them now for Evan McPherson this year. The Ravens then go 17 plays, 10 minutes, touchdown. We wondered all year long on this program if the Bengals could handle a smash-mouth, run-it-first football team. And in the second quarter, they could not. Next came a Hayden Hurst fumble. Injuries to Jonah Williams and Eli Apple. More on those later. Baltimore field goal. You're 10-9 at halftime in favor of the Ravens. In the third quarter, the teams traded touchdowns and went on to the fourth, tied at 17. Early in the fourth quarter, admit it, you were worried. I know I was worried. I'm sitting there at home watching it. I'm thinking, this is not good. The Ravens march right down the field once again, led by outstanding play from their quarterback, Tyler Huntley. Ravens get it inside the 2-yard line, and then the play of the game.
Right around Huntley, he reaches, oh, that ball's out, that's live! Back the other way, Sam Hubard! The Cincinnati kid! Hubbard's got a convoy! Chased by Andrews! At the 30, the 20, he will score!
It was an unbelievable moment. Never seen anything like it. Logan Wilson was the one who made the play on the ball. Sam Hubbard takes the rebound, 98 yards, tie-breaking touchdown. It's the longest fumble return for a touchdown in the history of the postseason in the National Football League. Then we get to the fourth. The offense is doing nothing, and I mean nothing. 2 3-and-outs. The MVP of this game was the defensive line. Guys like Sample, Osai, Carter, guys we haven't talked about at all, or barely at all year long. It ends with a 24-17 opening round win. It's the first time in franchise history that the Bengals have won playoff games in back-to-back seasons. Now look, we're going to celebrate it today, but moving ahead, got to be concerned about the offensive line. Can they protect Burrow? If the fourth quarter was any example, there are serious questions. And, you know, I'd like to add one thing. We knew Lamar Jackson was not going to play in this game. He's hurt, and everyone can certainly understand that. There's no debate about it. But what I can't understand is how he doesn't even make the trip to cheer on his teammates. This isn't one of those, you can't fly after surgery because of swelling, blood clot kind of things. If I were his teammate, and I'm not, I'd have a very hard time looking at him as a team leader ever again. And if I'm the owner, and I'm not, there is zero chance that I'm handing him $300 million on a long-term contract. He is DUN with me and my team. Next up for the Bengalis, just as fate would have it, the Buffalo Bills. They nearly didn't get to the second round, beating Miami 34-31 in a very sloppy, poorly officiated game in Orchard Park. Josh Allen throws for 352 yards, but he threw 2 picks. He had a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Give a lot of credit to Mike McDaniels, the Miami coach, for having his team ready to play in that game, even with a third-string quarterback. But I got to tell you, and he wasn't alone, his clock management was brutal. And the Dolphins simply took too long to get plays into the huddle. If you looked at the stats, this game was dominated by Buffalo. But Miami had a shot. 3 minutes to go, had a 3rd and 2. They run it, fail. Then they get a delay of game penalty on 4th and 1. 4th and 1, delay of game. It turns into 4th and 6. They try, game over after it fails. Back to Allen, by the way, for a minute. He was sacked 7 times in the game. He's thrown 16 interceptions and has turned the ball over a league-high 22 times. Talk about impressive quarterback play. How about guys that had never been to the postseason before? Let's start with Trevor Lawrence. And how about Jacksonville? They're down 27-0. They turn the ball over 5 times. The Jags rally to win on a field goal at the buzzer, 31-30 over the Chargers. Lawrence did not start the game well at all. Threw 4 picks in the first half, then came back to throw 4 touchdown passes in his playoff debut. And Justin Herbert in his playoff debut, I mean, are you kidding? 3 points in the second half. Please, never again. Don't ever put Herbert in the same category as Burrow, Mahomes, or Josh Allen ever again. If he gets 1 first down in the second half, 1 more, they win the game, and he can't do it. Next week, Jacksonville goes to Kansas City. Can the Jags pull off the upset? On the NFC side, the Niners looked like they were going to boat race Seattle. But then the Seahawks get a late second quarter touchdown, take a 1-point lead at the half, and then Seattle got boat raced. Rookie Brock Purdy. My, oh my, Casey McAllister, Paul Fritchner, good morning, men. All 3 of you guys, along with Brandon Seho, were at the game last night.
It's fantastic. What an environment at Paycor last night.
It was electric.
No doubt. We're going to get into all that today. Got 2 hours to do it. Brock Purdy throws for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns. San Francisco outscored Pete Carroll's team 25-6 in the second half, win 41-23. Next up for the Niners, the winner of tonight's game between Dallas and Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, in his career, has never lost to the Cowboys. The best quarterback over the weekend, and this is where Tom Brennaman was wrong. That's R-O-N-G, wrong. Daniel Jones, your guy, Paul.
My guy, baby. Vindicated.
Daniel Jones of the Giants. He was unbelievable. The Giants win 31-24 over Minnesota. Jones throws for over 302 touchdowns. He runs it 17 times for 78 yards. The G-Men march on to the NFC semis against Philly. The Eagles beat the Giants twice during the regular season. As for the Vikings, think about this for a minute, okay? In the final 2 games of the regular season and then 1 playoff game, arguably the best receiver in the NFL is Justin Jefferson, okay? Chase, Jefferson, whatever, okay? In the final 3 games he played this year, he had a total of 100 receiving yards, total, in 3 games. In the prior 15 games this year, Justin Jefferson had 10 games with 100 receiving yards or more. Saturday, college hoops, 11 ranked teams lost, 11. That's the most in a single day since 2011. The biggest shocker came in Knoxville. UK head man John Calipari came to his players, said, give me your phones, give me your computers, give me all your devices, and vices probably for that matter. He said, men, go get a good night's sleep. You're not looking at anything. Let's go get them tomorrow. And the Cats responded. Maybe a season-saving 63-56 win over number 5 Tennessee. Now, number 9 Arizona lost, number 11 Kansas State lost. I only mentioned them because they were ranked ahead of Xavier. No more when the polls come out later today. Xavier wins another thriller at home over number 25 Marquette, 80-76. Jack Nungy notched a double-double, 16 points, 13 rebounds. X has ripped off 11 straight wins. Will play at DePaul Wednesday night. UC got a 2-point win at SMU on Saturday. Bearcats are 13-6. They're doing all right. They play Wednesday night at South Florida. Sad news in college football. This was brutal. It was hours after they had a celebration for the national championship. Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock, who started 2 games, played in every game for the Dogs this season, and a recruiting staff member, Chandler McCoy, were killed in a car crash late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. 2 others were in the car driven by McCoy and are hospitalized in Athens, Georgia. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of them. We have Tim McGee coming up in about 5 minutes to talk about everything going on. So we're going to take a timeout. We have hundreds, if not thousands, in the chat watching right now. We appreciate you being with us. We're back to talk about the Bengals. They march on to Buffalo. Are you ready, Buffalo? Are you ready for the Bengals? We're back in a moment.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
And here it comes. Ooh, just a hanger.
No, we still got the hanger in there. All right, while Tom's gone here for a minute, Casey, let's because we're probably not going to spend too much time on this while Tom is here. Let's talk about the experience last night. Let's talk about how the whole experience was from before the game to after the game for people that might not have been there. I know there were a lot of people that are listening to this that were there. I was there. You were there. Brandon was there. Reed was there. Great night last night. So how was it for you? You and I were on opposite ends. You were on the other end zone. I was on the opposite end zone.
Yeah, so I was on the northern side, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so
you were on the end zone that had its back to 75.
Yep.
Yep.
It was a electric night. But most of it started off really nice. It started off really high.
Yep.
And it just dwindled down further and further. And then just to kind of set the tone of it, it was just kind of like disappointing.
Yeah.
It was just disappointing all the way up until the Sam Hubard return touchdown fumble. And I mean, that place was just right back to being electric.
Yep.
Back to being full 100%. We're all back in this game. It just always seems like the Bengals find a way to get back into games.
Yeah.
To get that spark, to get the electric that the team needs.
Yeah, I thought it was it was very tentative, right? You got into halftime and things were kind of, back and forth. The Bengals were losing at halftime and you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, they're probably going to come out here and get it done in the second half. The Bengals have been a second half team this year. But you could tell there was nervousness. You could tell that everybody was pensive in the crowd. You're looking around, you're talking to people. The guy I was there with went and got us a chicken finger and fry basket in the fourth quarter. I couldn't eat. I was so nervous I couldn't eat. I told him, no, I can't eat a thing. I just wanted to stand there and just watch the game and enjoy it. And for as nervous as everybody was, it came down to the end. And then there was just this huge sigh of relief, right? You got down to the end, and when the Ravens got that holding call, I don't remember who it was on, but the holding call right at the end that backed up the Ravens 10 yards, I think that was where I took a sigh of relief. And, yes, we do, Tom. We have Tim in here. So we will kick it to him as soon as you're ready. But, anyway, that was my experience. Great atmosphere, though.
Yeah, and the tailgating before?
Oh, awesome.
That was awesome.
Awesome. All right, Tom.
I heard from a lot of people. Our son went down there, but I had a lot of buddies that were down there. I heard that it was really, really cold in the tailgating time. But then when they got in the stadium, I mean, I know the temperature dropped, obviously, as it got dark. But did you think that or no?
I was around a ton of people at the tailgate for a while, so I don't know if maybe it was just a lot of people being around.
Okay.
I wasn't that cold. But, yeah, once the sun went down in the stadium, you got to about the fourth quarter, and I had hand warmers, luckily, but
Yeah.
it was a chilly night.
Yep.
You know what I will say? At least there was no precipitation, because if it was, a light sprinkle, or if it was a dusting of snow or anything, I would have put a damper on things. But all right, we have Tim in.
All right, let's get to Tim McGee, former Bengals great. I tell you, Tim, I had to go downtown last night about 11:45 and pick up our son and his buddy who went to the game, and I got the radio on, and I'm thinking, all right, now I can listen to Tim and Chip Ludwig do their thing. Even late night, they're going to be going strong, and you're not there. Where were you?
Dude, I do not work at midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm old, man. I'm old. I'm in bed. The excitement of the game wore me down, man. I just couldn't take that type of intensity anymore, man.
All right, well, tell me. Give me your overall thoughts of the game, your impression after watching the whole thing start to finish.
Well, it's really weird because every time I think of this game, look at this game, watch the game, afterthought of the game, I can't help but think Lamar Jackson. I know he's still the biggest story, even though he did not play, because I'm just thinking how well Baltimore could have done if he was playing. But when you look at the game that was played without Lamar, you look at it and go, okay, the Bengals cannot, especially offensively, they cannot play 3 quarters of football. That's number one. Number two, their running game is anemic. But this team find ways to win football games. And to me, that is in itself is something special. I mean, I think it was a miracle they won this particular game, but it's just something is just not there. And maybe I have to lower the bar because my expectations, I really thought they were going to blow Baltimore out. I truly thought they would win that game decisively. But Baltimore, you just got to give Baltimore credit what they do, what Hubard does with such, I'm going to say, little talent or restrictions or limitations on offense. They were in a game. And, when you think about it, even as a Bengal fan, I say Baltimore gifted the Bengals a game last night.
Before we get on to talking about the Bengals and some of the issues that rose up in the game last night, which you just pointed out, I made the comment, Tim, in the monologue today, when they went down on NBC to Melissa Stark last night, and they said right before the game that Lamar Jackson did not even make the trip to Cincinnati. I got to tell you, Tim, I've been lucky. I obviously never played. You played. You've been in there, and maybe your reaction to this is different. But just based on my 30-plus years being around football players and baseball players, and nothing's more important than what your teammates think about you. And I have to ask you, for me, him not getting on the plane and to at least be a presence on the sideline for Baltimore last night, for me, if I'm one of his teammates, I have a hard time looking at him as being a leader of my franchise moving forward. Am I off base on that?
No, I think you're 100% right. But there'll be fragments in the locker room. There's no question. Some people will totally understand that he's going after his money bag and he has to do what he has to do, and they will be on board with it. And then there will be that, middle ground where, okay, I understand it, but damn, you still could have got on that plane. And then there'll be people that will just absolutely despise him for what he's doing to the team. And because the team is built around him, the offense is customized around him. If he would have just, like I said early in the week, if this guy would have walked out on the practice field and showed his teammates, I'm at least trying, that is a message within itself that your leader is doing his best to get on the football field with you Sunday night. But consequently, by not even trying and not traveling, he's also sending a direct message that I really don't care about you guys. I care about myself. I care about my money. And I am going to show this management, particularly the owner and the general manager, I'm going to show them how well and important I am. And if I don't play, you don't win. Okay, fine. They understand that. That's a message, in my very strong opinion, that he does not have to send because they know that. It is just a numbers game. And I think the major part of it, when you break it down, Thom, is the fact that he doesn't have an agent. He doesn't have that conduit between him and the club from the emotional standpoint. And I think that's probably what's really affecting him. He's probably taking some things so personal because he doesn't understand what negotiations are all about.
All right, let's shift gears now to the Bengals. Walk me through, Tim, when you look. Let's start with the offensive line. Okay, we know what happened coming in. What was your impression? Let's just start with the right side. We'll get to Jackson Carman and Jonah Williams here in a minute. But the two starters on the right side, Adeniji and Sharping, how did you feel that they played?
They played okay. And when I say okay, first thing you have to do, Tom, you have to understand why a starter is a starter and a backup is a backup. If there's a huge disparity, or the backup would be starting at least somewhere in the National Football League, unless he was a rookie getting some time and things of that nature. So, yes, there's going to be a drop-off. Now, the question is, will they be so exposed that it would hurt the offense? I don't think that happened. Now, did they play great? No. Did they play good? I'm going to give them on the scale of 1 to 10, they probably played a 5. Okay, and that's fine as long as they wasn't as long as they wasn't a thorn in Joe Burrow's side, meaning that Baltimore just absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage. Now, with that being said, when we talk about the offensive line, Tom, you got to give credit to the coaches. They adjusted to quick throws where Joe would not be as exposed as he would have been. So, but that limits who they really are. So that limits that long pass down the field where you really need that time. But I thought they did an adequate job, but I think they'll be in trouble, real trouble next week.
Look, Jonah Williams, he's had his issues this year. I think he gave up the most sacks of any left tackle in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, 12 of them. But, Jackson Carman's a young man, grew up right up the road over here in Fairfield. And, he was given a chance very early on, high draft pick. Things did not pan out, loses his job to a rookie this year. Now he's coming in to play tackle. There are already long days and nights for the coaching staff, as it is no matter what, regular season, postseason. How different is this offense going to look heading into Buffalo if they don't have Jonah Williams?
First, let's talk about having Jonah Williams. He's already struggling. I mean, when I say struggling, he didn't have the best year. Like you said, he gave up 12 or so sacks. So when you add that to the piece of now he may be injured, so he will not be 100%. I think we can all pretty much know that going into the game. So when you're talking about a guy that's already given up 12 sacks, playing average or below average, now he's got to go in there and play hurt. Well, that's when a coach has to make a decision. Would we rather have a 70, 60% Jonah Williams or the backup? If they play Jonah Williams, that really says something about Carman Jackson, that, wow, they are really down on this young man who's 100%, but they're going to play a guy who's only 60 to 70%. That concerns me. That's when I look at it. And from a offensive standpoint, oh my gosh, what do you do? A byproduct of that would be a struggling offensive line. I'll give you an example. There was a time where Chase, in I think the third quarter, ran a slant route. And when he ran the slant route, the safety jumped on it and they met at the ball at the same time, and the safety made a play on it. Okay, what does that mean? Why is that an impact? Well, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that safety would have done that with a healthy offensive line, because Jamar would have ran right by him. So they know the pressure's coming. The defense know they're going to get pressure on Joe Burrow, and they're going to make the quick throws go. And that's not the Bengals offense. And I am really, really, really concerned about that.
Is it absurd, Tim? There was talk about this a couple of weeks ago. Is it absurd to even entertain the thought of asking Andrew Whitworth to come back?
Yeah, it's absurd because he's under contract. You would have to trade for him, number one. There's two elements of that. What people don't understand, his rights are still held by LA, the Rams. That's number one. So, I mean, obviously, if I'm the Rams, I'm sitting there going, you want him? Come to Papa. I got the leverage over here. Number two, Whit had not, he was a great player, but he's retired. And he is not Michael Jordan. He's not coming back out of retirement in his prime So with that being said, be careful what you ask for. He may be there in uniform just like me, but with the peg leg I have, the bad knee, the bad shoulder, the bad this, the bad that, you don't have enough time for me to talk about all my bad ailments. It would be very difficult for him to compete at that level. So it is absolutely absurd to be, but I understand that's more of an emotional plea than a practical plea. Let's have a guy of quality to come in and play lineman. And not going to happen. And if it does, well, number one, it's not going to happen. I'm not even going to go there.
Okay. Buffalo on Sunday dominated the game statistically, much like the Ravens statistically dominated the game last night. I mean, the Bengals averaged in the game 4 yards per play in the game. Baltimore outrushed him, outpassed him, on and on and on and on. Buffalo, Josh Allen was sacked 7 times in that game by Miami. Now, Miami's got a good pass rush. I thought the Bengals pass rush last night for some young guys who we haven't talked a lot about did very, very well, especially late in the game. But Allen has turned it over a league-high 22 times this year. He throws 2 more picks. He fumbles for a touchdown in the game yesterday. They got to be a little concerned in Buffalo about him and their offense too, right?
I would say no. That's who they are. That's their identity. They play high-risk, high-reward football. You think about it. Josh Allen runs the ball like a running back. He is not a protected quarterback. When they are putting game plans together, it is not stay in the pocket, do the right thing, go down, slide. No, he is running over people. So it's hard for us to change our mental approach when it comes to a quarterback like him. He is a big, clunky Lamar Jackson, but he has the mentality of a gunslinger. So he's kind of a Brett Favre and a Lamar Jackson, a hybrid of both of those guys. So I don't think, is Buffalo running on all cylinders? Absolutely not. However, their style of play, I think they pretty much, I won't say are comfortable with it, but understand that there are going to be some turnovers. It is, protecting the football, obviously, is everyone's identity. But here's what Buffalo has. Buffalo has the ability that if they get behind, they can play from behind. If they get up, they can increase their lead. So Buffalo can play and beat you different ways. And I think they're more so struggle on the defensive side of football than the offensive side of football. But they got formidable weapons on that offense that just, when you play against the Bengals, it's going to be scary. And they're healthy.
One final question I want to ask you about, and I think today, and if you take off your Bengals glasses for a minute, not you, but I'm saying in general, the people watching the show, I think one of the most fascinating stories in sports, we're going to find out the answer to it later today. I don't know how closely you're following this, but there was a time you were a player agent. And NIL has come into the mix now in the collegiate game, and we know about all of that. It was a foregone conclusion that Ohio State star quarterback C.J. Stroud was going to go to the NFL draft, and he might. He has to make a decision by the end of day today. He's been a Heisman finalist 2 years in a row. He is considered to be the number 1 quarterback pick, and many people feel like he's a top 3 or 4 pick, which would be basically guaranteed about $25, $30 million. He's a deeply religious kid. He cares very much about his legacy and about other things in the big picture. Okay? Now, I'm not saying what he ought to do one way or the other, but he's not declared for the draft yet. And there's a chance he's coming back to Ohio State. And they're saying, a lot of people are saying that this could change the landscape on NIL differently than anything we have ever seen up to this point in time. Do you have any thoughts? Maybe it's unfair of me to even ask you about this because I didn't tell you ahead of time.
Let me tell you, I love it. I absolutely love it. This young man has something called a choice. He has the opportunity to stay in school and still make his money. Or he can go to the NFL and make his money. I couldn't tell you as a former player, you have very little options of what you can or cannot control. Is usually you're in a system that says you have to do ABC 1, 2, 3, and you do ABC 1, 2, 3. This young man, as well as the collegiate athlete today, they have choices. And the systems around them, whether it be the college or professional football, has to adjust to that. So I think it's a great opportunity for this guy to really sit down with his family and see what's in his best interest. Now, the downside of taking an NIL deal, that makes you one more year removed from that rookie contract expiring and getting the $200 million or $300 million. That's if you're successful, assuming you're successful in the NFL, to get that type of money. So use Joe Burrow as an example. Imagine if Joe Burrow would have stayed in school one more year, and gotten whatever $10 million from his NIL deal. Well, guess what? That $10 million in that extra year would probably cost him another 30, 40, maybe even 50 million with the numbers heading in the direction that they're heading. So options are great, but if you want to play with the big boys and you want to play with the best of the best, let me tell you, playing against a 17-year-old is totally different than playing against a 27-year-old stud. So I would have taken the route of I want to play against the best because I want to be the best. So I wouldn't be playing against 17 or 18-year-olds.
I got you. All right. Tim, you're the best, man. Thanks for joining on such short notice. And it's a big-time game. Big-time game. This is a game we were waiting for it. On that Monday night, the Bengals came out rolling in that game against Buffalo. They get the touchdown. Buffalo gets a field goal. The Bengals are marching back down the field before the cardiac arrest of Damar Hamlin, and thank God above, he's doing very, very well right now. But this is a game, the game that this will be the most watched game maybe of all of them come this weekend.
Yeah, and here's the beauty of it. Once this game is over, if Kansas City win, that will be the most watched game after this one. So, and you know what? You think about this, Tom. I'm a football guy, and you cover a lot of different sports, and you're awesome at it. I mean, absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank you.
When have you known back-to-back years that the NFL has had these type of games, matchups, and games? I'm talking about the matchup matching the PR that goes into it. It's been phenomenal. So far, it's been phenomenal. All the games have been great games. Man, I'm as a football fan now, I'm just so excited. And, you know, I hope my beloved Bengals make it. But if I, as you said, took off the Bengals glasses, I think it's going to be an uphill climb for them.
You know, it's funny you say that because you stop and think about it. I was talking about this with my son last night. To win the Super Bowl, the Bengals are basically going to have to win 3 Super Bowls now moving forward because everybody agrees Buffalo's a Super Bowl team. Kansas City, potentially, Super Bowl team. And then whoever comes out of the NFC, 49ers, whoever, I mean, this is a stretch in the next potentially 4 weeks where the Bengals will have to win 3 Super Bowl games against 3 Super Bowl teams.
On the road. Buffalo, potentially Kansas City, and then Arizona. Wow, you talking about the odds being stacked. But that formula in itself, by it being so tough, by us sitting here and when we analyze it and we break it down, we're like, man, they're hurt. These are the things that you look back and go, can you believe they won the Super Bowl under these conditions? No, basically 2 offensive linemen, everyone else backups. On the road, Buffalo, Kansas City, Arizona, NFC champions, which will probably, in my opinion, be San Francisco. But if they were to do that, it would just make it that much more special.
You know, I keep telling you I want to tell you goodbye, but there are a couple of things that came up over the weekend, and it made me think. You know, in a day and age, Tim, where it doesn't matter what the sport is, but we're going to talk about football. In the day and age where we hear so much about rebuilding, and needing time to get things together and a new system and a new coach. When you look at what Brian Daboll has done with the Giants, and when you look at what Peterson has done with the Jacksonville Jaguars, in 1 year, first year right out of the gate. Right now, granted, you know, Daniel Jones, talented guy. He proved something to me yesterday that I didn't think he had in him. Shame on me. Trevor Lawrence coming out of college, phenomenal player, up and down rookie year. But I think, you know, these guys might be ruining it for a lot of guys who are taking over as a head coach that they're asking for 2, 3, 4 years to get the thing in the right direction.
Yeah, these guys are showing what to rebuild. If the nucleus of your talent is there, my system, I mean, you look at Zack Taylor, and more so, you look at Lou Anarumo. Lou, I personally thought was going to get fired, and I thought he deserved to get fired based on the statistics and how the defense was performing. But that shows you put my system and you give me my guys that I can put in my system, and you build a bond or a relationship like Joe Burrow and Zack Taylor. And you can tell when you look at the Giants, these guys are out there playing for the coach. It's very easy. It's fun. And, it's no longer where when you walk into the lunchroom, the coaches go left and you go right. It's now we're more of, and when I use the term family, we're on the same page. We can talk to one another. We don't take things personal. And if I need to challenge you, I can challenge you. And yes, they're making – now, you got to go back. These teams have talent. Now, I think there's a huge difference between a team like the New York Giants or the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans has very little talent. So whoever gets that job will need to, build through the draft or free agency and get a nucleus and go from there. But you got to commend the guys like Zack Taylor. You got to commend, the guys in New York and Jacksonville and some other teams as well that's been able to turn it around in a split second, so it seems. So, yeah, I think it's going to be tough for coaches to go into that interview process, and I need 5 years. 3 years is going to take me to get there, and then we'll start winning after the third year. It's going to be hard to sell the owners on that.
Tim, thanks as always for your time, young man. Have a great rest of your day.
I really appreciate it. I see you rocking the UDF. I think that's UDF.
That's UDF. That's one of our proud sponsors, along with Pawnee Water. Tim, you're on your game. You're on your game, young man.
There you go. There you go.
I
appreciate you having me, my brother. I appreciate you having me.
All right, man. Tim McGee, former Bengal great, number 85. Tim McGee. Love Tim McGee. Great dude. Always was a great dude. I remember I was right out of college, and he was coming right out of Tennessee, and I was working for Channel 5, and he's just always been a first-class guy. Gentlemen,
Thom.
All right, let's walk through some of your observations and thoughts about the game. The Bengals made the play when they had to make the play, whether it was the Hubard play and Wilson batting the ball. Boy, how about the comments made by J.K. Dobbins after the game last night?
Yeah, we have an hour and 23 minutes to talk about a lot of different things here. There is a lot to get to, whether it's J.K. Dobbins, whether it's anything else. The one thing that I do want to start with, and just very quickly, we joke a lot about how Samaje Perine should have dove for the ball in the Super Bowl last year, and that's kind of become a shtick on this show. And I was talking before we went on the air. I was sitting right behind that last Hail Mary play.
Yep.
And I don't know if there was a replay that really showed the angle on it. But I did go back and watch the play from the NBC broadcast. It looked a whole lot closer than it was in
it was
real
close.
life. It looked on the NBC broadcast like it was there. I was sitting right behind the play. I never really thought he was going to – it was farther away from his hands than it looked. When I watched that on NBC, I'm sitting there going – man, if you didn't see it from that angle, you would have thought he was going to catch that ball easily for a touchdown. But sitting behind the play, you could see there was probably a foot or two at least in between his hands and the ball. It wasn't that – it was close. I'm not saying it was totally out of his – it wasn't like 10 feet away, but it wasn't a catchable ball, I'll say that. He laid out full extension for it. So.
Well, it was scary nonetheless.
Oh, it was scary. I'm not denying
those
that.
Hail Marys, and let me ask you guys this, just your opinion on this. Because, it's a debate that'll never have an answer. We'll never know. But if the Ravens score a touchdown there, does Harbaugh go for 2 in the win?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
100%.
Why do you say that? I mean, why not, with the overtime rules being different this year, they changed them after what happened last year in the divisional round, Kansas City against Buffalo, where, back and forth, great game. Kansas City got the ball, scored a touchdown. Buffalo never got the ball. That doesn't happen anymore. If he kicks a point after, in a game where statistically They are dominating the game. Dominating the game. They had 150 yards more of offense, over 100 more rushing yards, more yards per play on average. Why go for the win there if you know you're going to get the ball at least one time? And look, they had shut down the Bengals offense in the fourth quarter. Totally shut it down. Back-to-back 3-and-outs.
Yeah, I will say that. I think that because the Ravens defense was playing so well, I could listen to an argument where they just kick the extra point and then try to play it out in overtime, potentially get a quick stop, right? If the Bengals get the ball first, get a quick stop, and then just get into Justin Tucker's field goal range real quick off a punt, try to flip the field. I could see them doing that, but I just think the way the game was trending when you have the Bengals on their heels like that, if you're Harbaugh, we've seen Harbaugh gamble like that before, you go for two there and just try and win the game.
The expectations were for them to lose anyways, so the fact that they were that close to even tying it or winning it, in fact.
Well, I don't think those were John Harbaugh's expectations for them to lose.
Right, but what I'm saying is just kind of going off of Paul's point, they were on their heels. If they would have scored there, I think he goes for the win. I think the Bengals would have been in panic mode. They would have been in scramble mode. And also, I just don't think he would give Joe Burrow the ball back in overtime. I think he's smarter than that, than to let it come down to Joe Burrow in overtime. But that's just – maybe I'm giving him too much credit thinking that, or Joe Burrow too much credit. But that would be my thought as a head coach. I do not want Joe Burrow to get the ball in overtime. And I know the overtime rules are different now. Both teams get a chance to score a touchdown. But we were holding them out of the end zone all game. So it was one broken play for a touchdown, and then they had scored – one other time in the red zone. But all the other times, the fumble, we stopped them for another time, right?
Yeah. I got to tell you, I am one of John Harbaugh's biggest fans, but I have to tell you, I'd pin the Baltimore loss directly on him for the game last night. And again, I repeat, I am a huge John Harbaugh fan. He had won more road playoff games as a head coach than any coach in the history of football. And that's saying something. Road games, NFL. But two things for me saying what I just said. Number one, J.K. Dobbins is an unbelievable back. This guy is a gamer. He is tough. He is physical. He can catch the ball. Most importantly, he wants the ball. There are a lot of guys out there that are great players, but they don't want the ball when it matters. Dobbins went to the Baltimore coaching staff and said, look, I've had the ACL. I've had another surgery to get right. I got the week off last week. You sat me down. Put the game on my back. This is what he said to the coaching staff before the game ever started. Put the game on my back, and we will win the game. Dobbins got 13 carries in the game. 13. And he rushed for over 60-something yards. Now, you get the ball inside the 10-yard line. Dobbins had run through 2 or 3 Bengals to score a touchdown already inside the 5 earlier in the game. How in the world you get to the 2-yard line and you don't give the ball to J.K. Dobbins for a chance to score the go-ahead touchdown in the 4th quarter? Huntley is not known as a runner. Harbaugh came back after the game and he said, look, the idea was he was supposed to go low and not go up high. That was on Huntley when the ball got knocked out when he tried to break the plane. He said the deal was we had 2 guys behind him. He was supposed to go down low under the center, and we were going to shove him in the end zone. But that's not the way it played out. So that's number one. Dobbins never gets them. In fact, he's not even on the field when the Ravens get the ball inside the 10. That's number one. Number two, if you were in the stadium, and I've talked to 3 people that were, sometimes with the emotion, the crowd, you get lost as to what's going on with the clock. What Harbaugh did in the last 2 minutes of the game, and especially when they got down to the 130, 140 mark, huddling up, 2 timeouts left, not calling a timeout, not going no huddle. They blew, and I think Collinsworth made the point, they blew a minimum of 45 to 50 seconds on the clock that they could have utilized to try and score a touchdown.
Well, at one point, my friend that I was sitting with, I looked at him, and I was looking at the play clock. They killed 30 seconds on one play.
I know.
With about 1:45 left. And I looked up at the timeouts. I had to double check. I thought for a second I'd forgotten that they had maybe used all their timeouts. I had no idea what was going on. I thought maybe I was missing. I went on to Twitter. I thought maybe I was missing something. And then everybody on Twitter was tweeting, what is this clock management? What's going on?
Yep.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess I'm not that far off base. And then all of a sudden, they snap the ball. It gets tackled in bounds, and then the clock keeps running. What were they doing? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to my other point where they don't want to give Joe Burrow back the ball with any time. I kind of understand, but at the same time, he still mismanaged it. He left too much time, or he put too much time away. Like he was draining too much.
He gave it away.
He gave it away. And he could have at least, like, he's not Patrick Mahomes, right? He's not going to drive down in 15 seconds on that defense. So he could have done it a lot better. I think he just didn't realize how much, just kind of like you were saying. And he's been known to do this from time to time, too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Ravens fans are on the chat, or at least those that follow the Ravens and watch them regularly, and they say that, Harbaugh has had game clock mismanagement issues in the past. He's won a lot of games. He came rolling into this town with a backup quarterback. He had his team ready to play. They were right there. Last night, the Ravens were a better team than the Bengals. And a lot of people out there are going to get mad about it. They were a better team. But they did not win the game. The Bengals found a way on a miracle play to win the game.
Is this the best defense that the Bengals are going to play in the playoffs?
No doubt about it. Unless you get to the Super Bowl and you see the 49ers. There's no doubt about it. Baltimore, and we said it beforehand, which is why I picked, I think you guys did not, which is why I picked the Ravens to cover.
You did.
Because in a divisional game, these games are normally, I mean, look at Buffalo and Miami. Miami had no business being on the field in that game. It's their third string quarterback, and they lose by 3. And, boy, you talk about just a disaster. I mean, we'll get into some of these other coaches, whether it's McDaniels in Miami, whether it's Staley with the Chargers. I mean, I just can't believe that these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. And some of the things that go on. Did you see the end of that Miami game?
Oh, it was brutal.
I mean, it was impossible to believe, and you could see it coming from 1,000 miles away because it was going on the whole damn game. They couldn't get the play called to Skylar Thompson. He's one of those guys because, third string guy, it is what it is. And he's having to flip open the play chart on his wristband. Every single snap is going down to 1. They get to 3rd and 2 at midfield. They kick a field goal to send this thing into overtime. They get into 3rd and 2, and for whatever reason, they decide to come rushing to the line of scrimmage. They try to run the ball, stop. Now it's 4th and 1. This is the season. This is the game. This is everything. And they cannot get a play called in time and have to take a 5-yard delay of game penalty. It's hard enough against Buffalo as it is. 4th and 1 becomes 4th and 6. They try to throw it, game over. Buffalo wins the game. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that in my life. You've got 40 seconds right there. And you can't get a fourth. McDaniels came out after the game, and he didn't throw somebody in front of the bus by name, but he basically threw somebody in front of the bus. He said, I was told in my headset that we converted on the third down play. Stevie Wonder on the sideline would have known that they didn't convert on third down.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, seriously. They weren't even close to converting on that third down play.
That's a bad excuse.
That's bad. I didn't hear him say that.
Yeah, that was his comment after the game.
That's bad.
He said, it's the first time it's happened all year long. He said, somebody said in my headset, and I don't remember who it was, that we got the first down. So then what happened was, according to McDaniels after the game, they already had on their field their personnel for a 1st and 10. Now all of a sudden they realize it's 4th down and a yard. So off comes one group, in comes the next group, scrambling around to make a play call, and they cannot get it in because they were out of timeouts. They cannot get it in and take a delay of game penalty on a 4th and 1 with the season on the line.
You just run the play at that point. You can't.
They weren't even up on the line of scrimmage.
It's just you got to run the initial play, whatever it was called, right? Like you just live with it.
Yeah.
You can't afford to take a delay of game. You got to control what you can control, and that is something that was out of his control. He made a play call. You got to just stick with it and live by it.
So now you look at the Dolphins and the Bills, and Trace, I'm sure we'll talk more about the Dolphins on the box lunch because he was all over the Dolphins heading into this game.
Yes, he was.
The Dolphins making the Bills look beatable?
Yeah.
Beatable? Question mark?
I mean, Josh Allen was not good yesterday.
Well, I mean,
he got the job done.
He was sacked 7 times.
Yeah,
and turned the ball over
he
3.
got killed. That was a Joe Burrow-esque sort of run for your life literally after the snap of the ball. He still had 350-something yards passing. And he had a couple of touchdowns, but he did turn it over 3 times. 1 fumble, went for a touchdown for Miami, and he threw 2 picks. We've said all year long on Off the Bench, Allen is extremely sloppy with the football. When he's great, he is great. And maybe unlike anybody else, even more so than Burrows and Mahomes because of the way he can run the ball. But boy, does he get sloppy with the ball. I think both of these teams have major concerns coming into this game this week.
Oh, very much so. I after the game last night, I was going back and I was thinking about it, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, you're down 3 offensive linemen. Now maybe Kappa comes back. Maybe the Bengals aren't down 3 offensive linemen. But maybe Kappa comes back. Who knows? Give positive vibes.
That's right.
But either way, you're talking about a Bengals team that is basically down to the offensive line that they went to the Super Bowl with last year, which is weird to say because everybody was complaining about it, and it was the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. But you're playing with an offensive line that got you to the Super Bowl last year. Think about what the Bengals – we don't need to go on about it. We've talked about it a lot. But think about what the Bengals did in Tennessee. How many times did Joe Burrow got sacked? 7 times in that game?
9
times. 9 times.
Yep.
Even worse, 9 times in that game. The Bengals still found a way to win. Josh Allen is much better than Ryan Tannehill. But the Bengals still found a way to win that game on the road in this divisional round. So if you're talking about it, I mean, it's not crazy. And this is not – the spread is 4. 3.5. I haven't seen the update. I guess I could look here at the bottom of the screen when it flashes across. But it was 3.5, 4 as it moved overnight. I think that's probably right for the Bills, 3.5, 4. But I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout either way.
No. I think you're spot on there. I'm just really, really concerned, as everybody else is, about an offense that has been so inconsistent. They win games. And at the end of the day, and I say it all the time, throw all the stats, it's all BS, throw it out the window, okay? Do you win or do you lose? And one thing you can say about this Bengal team is, with this group, head coach Zack Taylor, and I got to tell you, I'm coming around on the guy. I really am. I mean, I beat him up early about his decision, and I'll still stand by that, to not play the offensive line in the preseason. And Burrow was lucky to get out of those first 2 games alive. But going into last night during the 8-game winning streak, Burrow had only been sacked 12 times total during the 8 straight wins. Last night, 2 new starters on the right side. Williams goes out. He gets sacked 4 times in the game. But I'm just concerned about the inconsistency of this offense.
Yeah, I was just going to bring this up. It just seemed like everyone was just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Everyone. I mean, Jamar Chase was dropping some balls. There were some guys not running through the full route, or they were not quite able to get their hands on the ball all the way. Just a lot of just off. And I know a lot of it stems from the offensive line, but let's be honest here. They were looking kind of off for the last couple weeks.
Well, longer than that.
Ever since probably the Patriots or maybe the end of the Buccaneers game.
I would say you go back to the Buccaneers game is where it all starts. First half, the offense is brutal. And then, 11 plays, Tampa Bay turns it over 4 times. So again, you look at the stats and you throw up whatever it was, 28 points in 1 quarter, looks great. New England, they look like the greatest offense in the history of football in the first half. In the second half, they don't score a single point. Not one against New England. And New England ain't that good. Baltimore last week, you kind of throw it out the window because there was a lot of prodding going on and vanilla stuff. They got the lead. But then last night, they start off great. And, I mean, they scored. You take away the point after thing there with McPherson. But they score, in essence, it was 9 points. But they get 2 scores, field goal and a touchdown, their first 2 possessions. And for the rest of the game, I mean, they were basically non-existent outside of the scoring the touchdown in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, there was they had a excuse me, they had a lot of plays just left on the field too. That wasn't just because of the offensive line. Like I said before, Jamar Chase dropped like an easy 15-yard crosser. Like a deep in route.
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed off, and he was still pretty good last night. But that's the good thing, right? Is that when we're off, we're still good enough to win games, and when we're on, we are just on, and that's the good thing. That is the sunny side of this. This is the glass is half full take, is that even though they were off, and this is one of the better defenses in the league, they still got the job done. They were still able to score enough points. They were still able to keep themselves in the game and make a play. And this team has been a defensive team. Let's get the notion that we're an offensive team out of our minds. The defense has carried us all year,
no doubt.
Even since last year. They've carried us all season long. So, with that being said, this defense, it is ready. Even with some of the injuries that we sustained. Eli Apple has been playing well. There's the one really, really bad burn.
Yeah, that's going to happen. When you're a defensive back in this league, you're playing against good players from the other team. I mean, sometimes he got sucked in, thought it was going to be a run. He left Andrews alone. But I really thought Eli Apple laid it all on the line last night. I mean, he's a lightning rod. He's an easy guy to like. He's an easy guy not to like. I mean, he puts himself out there. But there aren't a lot of cornerbacks that come up and hit people the way I thought Apple did last night.
I agree.
He put his body on the line last night in a lot of the run game for Baltimore.
And it's a shame that he got exposed the way he did on that double move, because otherwise everybody would have been talking about a nice game from him. But instead, he gets burned on a double move, which, if you saw the replay, looked real bad. He just bit on it and got beat for the touchdown. But outside of that, I mean, that's kind of what you get from him, though, right? I mean, there's a lot of good. There's also some bad mixed in there. But
that's right.
I will say, Tom, Casey mentioned glass half full. Bengals fans could probably use a little glass of Pawnee water this morning, right? Maybe recovering from last night. Maybe use some Pawnee water.
Well, I mean, look, we talk about it all the time. And if you haven't been with us, they're one of our early sponsors here, Pawnee. They're right across the street, right here in Hamilton, Ohio. And they use this natural limestone filtration unlike a lot of the other artificial processing that goes on with other brands out there. It's a healthy, alkaline water. It's the best tasting water in the world. And you guys need some. I'm sure all of you had far too many last night. You can visit their website at Pani, P-A-H-H-N-I. That's Pani, P-A-H-H-N-I water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. We've already had a number of people that have reached out to me, local business owners, that want to find out how to get Pani inside of their businesses and their stores.
It's great.
That's a good thing.
And also, if you're watching a video right now, make sure you like the video. We have a record crowd in here today. Over 400 people joining the program. So thanks to everybody. You can listen to this show in podcast form. Join the Discord. We posted the link there in the chat. Join the Discord. We subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And we're rocking and rolling this week, Bills week. Big week here on the show this week, Tom, because I think this Bills game, and we have 4 more days to talk about it. We'll have plenty of guests this week. We're getting a lot of people on, a lot of good people that know a lot about this. We'll maybe try to get somebody on from Buffalo this week to talk about the game.
I think we go back and get our guy Reuben Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's on it. He was a great player. He's like Tim McGee. Great player. Follows the team closely right there in Buffalo. And we got to dial him up again for the end of the week. Some of the comments in the chat I think are very interesting. Ben says, for me, a great team needs to answer yes to 3 things. This is a great point. Can you win in a blowout? Can you win in a comeback? And can you win a close game, a.k.a. a clutch play, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever? Great point, Ben. Bengals have proven the last 2 years they can do all those things. The other one, which I never remember, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, I never remembered the blue Libra being in the chat.
I do not. We have a lot of new people in the chat. If you're watching, join.
Yeah.
Start talking.
Subscribe. Join the Discord.
Yep.
Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
So what about the blue Libra?
But the blue Libra brings up a point that I thought of last night, and that is this. If Jonah Williams cannot come back this week, do you move Adeniji to left tackle and start Isaiah Prince at right tackle?
Yeah, whatever happened to Isaiah Prince? We thought he was going to start a couple of weeks ago, and Joe Burrow teased that, and then all of a sudden he's not even around. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to our boy Zay.
Yeah, what happened to Zay? We were going to crown him the king, not a prince.
So, I mean, that I have to believe is being pondered down there at Paycor Stadium in the Bengals coaching offices right now. I mean, look, you're at the point now. This ain't some regular season nonsense where you can, let's just see how this guy does. I mean, it all boils down to, what do you think about Jackson Carman? What do you think about Adeniji, who played guard by and large last year, but we've talked about it 1,000 times. He was a tackle his entire collegiate career, 3-year starter. They were very comfortable ultimately with him playing right tackle, and he's done just fine. Limited amount of time, but he's done fine. Okay, we don't know about Kappa. It's a great point that Paul brings up. I mean, is there a possibility? I don't know. But the question will be asked of Zack Taylor today when he has his press conference. Is there a possibility of Kappa? Did you guys see him on the sideline, by the way, last night at all, Kappa?
I did not even think to look, honestly.
Okay, I was just curious because, he was going around in one of those, not a scooter. What do you call them when you got to put your leg up and it's on wheels?
Yeah, scooter.
Scooter. Okay, he was on a scooter going around practice, but that could be precautionary, that kind of thing. But this is these are grown men having to make now big boy decisions, and hurt feelings are thrown out the window.
Analog Circle Podcast. Thanks for the super chat from a Ravens fan. Congrats. See you all next year. Appreciate it, Analog. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Gut reaction Monday morning, 12 hours after the game's over. Do the Bengals beat the Bills? Rip the Band-Aid off. Gut reaction. Do the Bengals win on Sunday? Which we should say, if anybody doesn't know, 3 o'clock on Sunday, Nance and Romo calling the game.
But calling the game.
What do you care? You went to the game yesterday. You didn't have to listen to anybody. You went to the game the week before. You didn't have to listen to anybody.
Tirico was great last night going back.
They were on their game.
You just said
the only thing I didn't like about the NBC telecast, and this is where Fox just blows everybody else out of the gym as far as sound effects and making you feel like you're at the game.
Yeah.
As a guy sitting at home last night, and I know what kind of atmosphere it's become down there at Paycor. It's among the very, very best in the NFL. But if that game were broadcast in Kansas City, if that game were broadcast in Buffalo, you would have had a much greater feel for the crowd than we had in that game last night. NBC, they do a great job. The commentators, the producer, the director. Melissa Stark is phenomenal on the sideline. You know, a lot of people, they'll go hot and cold on different sideline reporters. She is on her game. She's not intimidated by anybody. She's smart. She understands good questions, all that kind of thing. But you had no feel for the crowd. And it had to be just beyond belief, right?
I didn't see people were standing every play. It was unbelievable. It was a great crowd. And it only felt like a handful of times they even took shots of the crowd, the wide shot. It looked like a crowd I've never seen before. Kansas City, Buffalo included. And those are great venues. It was awesome.
But Kansas City and Buffalo, they just have that reputation. And for a long time, this place was a clunker of a place to watch a football game because the teams weren't very good, fans weren't coming. It doesn't have the reputation over the long haul that Bills fans or Chiefs fans have. But there's no greater football fan. That's why when people tell me get into this whole debate about Cincinnati being a baseball town, total nonsense. Total nonsense. And I've said it for 35 years. Football is king in this town, and it is king in every town in the United States of America except for 2 places. 3 places, because they don't have either great high school or college football. That has a lot to do with it. Your pro teams can come and go. But the only 3 places where there are better baseball, it's more of a baseball town, 2 places, St. Louis and Boston. Outside of that, forget it. Cincinnati is a football town.
100%. Yeah, I mean, this town is a football town, and I think it's going to be like that for a long time.
I might push back on that a little bit because I think a lot of people, I think if you gave, I don't know.
This was a sold-out crowd for a playoff game.
It
was overpacked.
I think what it is I think it's a winning town. I think this town is reacting to
every town is a winning town.
I understand, but I think if I don't know. I need a longer run out of the Bengals to be convinced that Cincinnati and the Reds.
Here's my pushback on it is the Bearcats have been doing so well in their football program that it's not just the
That's
Bengals.
about to come to an end.
Yeah, but I mean the Bearcats have really made a push too for this to be you watch football on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Thursday.
Yeah.
But
it's true. It's true. I'm not saying I'm just saying I think that the last 8 to 9 years have really warped everyone's brain.
Well,
of
here's the thing. I mean, when they talk about the Cardinals and the Cubs, and I was there with a front row seat to this. So I'm not like getting this secondhand from somebody, okay? When the Cubs won in 1989, the National League East, when the season started in 1990, and I was a first-year broadcaster there, crowds were good. But then they started losing. 91, 92, Greg Maddux walks out the door. I can't tell you how many games at Wrigley Field that I broadcast where there weren't 15,000 people in the stands. St. Louis, Cubs and the Cardinals, huge rivalry. Can't tell you how many games I went down there to St. Louis. Whereas, the last decade or so, they're selling out Tuesday night games, 45,000 per game. So the point I'm making is every single town is a winner's town. Just some, more so baseball than football. Somebody points out in the chat, San Diego is a baseball town, and that is because they no longer have a football team. And the baseball team's pretty good. And college football stinks. Reed Mouse made the comment, LA's a baseball town. LA's just huge. Huge. They got 2 NFL teams. They got a Major League Baseball team. They have another pro football team in USC. There's just so many people there that they're going to come to everything.
Yeah. But I'm going to go back to the original question here that started all this. Sunday, 3 o'clock, they kick it off. Sunday at 7 o'clock. Are Bengals fans happy or sad? This is not going to be the pick that we make on Friday. Info can change through the week. Maybe a lineman gets healthy for the Bengals. Somebody gets hurt in practice for the Bills. Somebody gets hurt in practice for the Bengals. I'm just saying right now, with how the teams played yesterday, do the Bengals win on Sunday? I just want a quick pulse, State of the Union. Thom.
No.
Oof, no.
Badly or?
You just asked me for a gut reaction, and I have plenty of time to change my mind. But based on what I saw last night and yesterday from both teams, Buffalo and Cincinnati, Buffalo didn't lose any offensive linemen.
Nope.
Buffalo's not down 3 offensive linemen from what they've had all year long, right? They have a quarterback that, yes, he'll turn it over and get sloppy. But is the Buffalo offense, at least philosophically, is it going to change because of not having personnel that they had before the start of the game yesterday, like it very much might be for the Bengals? I think when both are fairly healthy, I think the Bengals are a much better team than the Buffalo Bills. But when I look at what Baltimore did last night, especially in the run game, and look, Buffalo's not a great run team, but they ran it a little better yesterday, and we know Allen can run it. I just thought the Bengals were extremely lucky to win that game last night.
Casey, go.
Man, my gut reaction is yes. But it is not going to be pretty. It's going to be another just brutal game. And you know what? It's probably going to be a very stagnant offense. We're going to probably kick 3 or 4 field goals. Defense is going to come up really big on a play. Probably pick off Josh Allen once or twice. Maybe one of those.
You think he might throw 2 picks?
Turnovers. I'm going to say there's going to be one or 2 turnovers on offense for the Bills.
Okay.
That's going to make it really close. But I do think they come away with a win. That's my gut reaction. What about you, Paul?
The offense has to play better for the Bengals.
No. You're not saying. Yeah. What's your gut reaction? What are you saying?
I think the Bengals. I trust Joe Burrow to play at a better level than he has the last 2 games.
Fair enough.
And I think the Bengals win.
Fair enough. Because I think we all are in agreement. I mean, this is not even a debatable topic. I don't even know why I'm throwing it out there. But the Buffalo Bills scored 31 points with a third-string quarterback.
You mean the Dolphins?
I mean, yeah, forgive me. The Bills gave up 31 points to a third-string quarterback. Now, 6 of those were directly off of a fumble by Allen that was running for a touchdown by the Miami defense. But they still gave up 31 to something called Skylar Thompson.
He was 18 of 43 with 100 yards or something.
He battled. I give the credit, though. I mean, I watched that whole game start to finish. He was in, he was in house money, right? House money for Skylar Thompson yesterday.
Yeah.
Nobody and everybody gave Baltimore a better chance than people gave Miami a chance, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they hung in there. I mean, nobody is rooting for the Bengals harder to win this coming Sunday than me. And that includes you. Nobody. I mean, I sit there in front of the TV. My wife had to go visit a friend who's going through some things. My son went to the game. I was the only one home. I got the fire going. I'm sitting there dialed in, yelling and screaming, totally into it. But this offensive line thing has me very, very worried.
I agree with you, and I go back to what I said on Friday's show where I do think that the winner of this Bills-Bengals game will beat the Chiefs. Now, we didn't see the Chiefs play this weekend. They had to bye. And there's no chance the Jaguars beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, right? I mean, that's not a thing.
Dude, they came back from 27-0.
Well, against the Chargers, though. It's not the Chiefs, and it's not an Arrowhead.
We all thought that the Chargers were going to beat the Chiefs. Yeah. We got some breaking news. It would appear that C.J. Stroud has declared for the draft.
Well, I mean, I think everybody felt that was coming.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about the amount of money that is going to be thrown his way. Boy, I mean, where are we seeing that? I'm looking up right now. Where'd you get that?
Field Yates just tweeted it. Oh, well, straight from
there we go.
CJ
there
Stroud.
We go. So good luck to that young man. He is everything that is good about college sports. He's a phenomenal kid. And look, the money is just I love what Tim McGee had to say about, you have a choice, at least now with NIL. You don't have to leave. But I think the key is a point he made about that rookie contract, and now you're waiting another year, right? By staying another year in school. Because if you get in the NFL and you start playing, that clock, just like baseball arbitration and free agency, that clock starts ticking. And if he gets drafted by the Texans, obviously they would need to put a lot around him. But if he's the guy they pick, and most suspect that he is the guy they're going to pick, that, he might get a chance to play right away. And then all of a sudden that clock is ticking for the end of a rookie deal. And if you play well, cashing in on the $300, $400, $500 million contracts that are being thrown around out there. Most people think Burrow's got a chance to be a $500 million man.
I think that's set in stone, honestly, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, I wouldn't want your dishonest opinion.
We wouldn't want you to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Burrow is going to get that $500,000, maybe even more, for a 10-year. I think he's going to get something like Patrick Mahomes, honestly.
Yeah, and he deserves to.
I agree with
there's
that.
no doubt about it. And I loved what he had to say in that interview. I want to go back and watch the whole thing. I was really disappointed that NBC, again, and maybe it's just a generation thing. I don't know. You'd be able to speak to this, Paul, Brandon, Casey. I'm all for having a great time in interviews and that kind of thing. But I would much rather have heard you guys were in the stadium, so you didn't get a chance to see it. So, much was made of the interview with Joe Burrow done by Maria Taylor. Is that her name?
Yeah.
In the pregame. They only ran maybe 2 minutes of it. And a minute and a half of it has to do with the clothes that he wears to come to the stadium. Now, again, you guys already have a grin on your face. That's the kind of thing you guys and my 17-year-old son, you guys love that shit.
Oh, no, I was
what he
grinning 'cause I thought it
wears
was
to the
dumb.
game. What's his drip walking into the stadium? I don't care.
I was grinning because I don't care either. I think that's a dumb question to ask after they just won
Well,
a
they
playoff
bring
game.
in a Collinsworth apparently had bought a jacket, and they bring it in, and Joe's sitting there, and it was cute stuff. I got no problem with it. It was fine. But, I would rather have heard him talk about, his window. It's his entire career. I'd rather hear him talk about, I want to play right here in Cincinnati for the rest of my career. We've got a big-time thing going. But we're talking about colors in a sport coat. See, look at you, Paul. You love that stuff. Am I right or wrong?
I don't hate it. I would have. I don't know. I don't really care. I guess I don't hate it. I don't really care. I don't know. It's good content. It's good social media content.
Well, again,
Don't
that's
say
the point
that.
I'm making. Is that's what it's become.
That's all it is. It's just good social media content. People eat it up.
Burrow walked in wearing slippers to the interview. It was actually kind of funny. He walked in, he had a pair of slippers on, and it was funny. But I don't know.
I don't really think
I don't want to. All right.
And you were talking about the interview that they did, the pregame thing with NBC that they ran on Saturday.
No.
Is that what you're talking about,
Well, they
or-
might have. Whenever they did it, I don't know. But they ran it, and NBC has like 27 guys that work on that Sunday Night Football thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 3 or 4 of them in the studio. They got another 3 or 4 on another part of the studio. They got 5 guys down on the field. They're all giving their pick for the game. And all of that in lieu of hearing more from Joe Burrow. And I think America really likes Joe Burrow. I think they like to hear a little bit more from him. It's not some national team who gets a ton of pub. You know, you turn on one of these NFL games, Patrick Mahomes seemingly is in every other commercial. I even saw Justin Herbert in a commercial. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was SoFi. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, though, right?
Well, of course. But I'm just saying, the point I'm making is whether it's Aaron Rodgers or now Herbert or Mahomes, and all those guys have earned, you know, getting commercial endorsement. God bless them. God bless them all. But you don't see Burrow on much of that stuff. I just like to hear from Burrow a little bit more about something relevant besides a sport coat choice before a game.
True. Yeah, sure. You know, we talk about whether this town is a baseball town, whether it's a football town, whether it's just a winning town, whatever it is. But one of the coolest traditions that Zack Taylor has started here in the last 2 years is what he has done after the Bengals have won their postseason games. And
yes.
He takes the game balls and he delivers them
Yep.
to the local watering holes, the bars, wherever it is. So we have
man of the people
pictures. Can I hit the button or no? On Zack Taylor?
No,
Hit the damn
not
button.
yet. Go ahead.
What? Come on.
It needs to- I know that is a big
Not
decision
yet.
for Thom to let me to do
yet. Not yet.
I
Go
can't-
ahead. No, but go on with this. This is good
But so
stuff.
these pictures, we have a video too, but these pictures are of Zack Taylor down at the Blind Pig, which is downtown. It's not that far from the stadium if you haven't been there. It's a great little spot. I've been there many times. And here's a video from Zack for someone in the bar that got Zack up there giving a little speech.
Cincinnati! Give it to my bartenders. Give it to my bartenders. My bartenders deserve that. My bartenders deserve this. Zach, give them to my bartenders. I'll give you the mic. You can present it to my bartenders. They deserve it. I really appreciate it. Y'all the best fans in the world. First to me. Love you guys. Game over the Blind Pig. Appreciate all your support. We need you next week in Buffalo. Find a way to get up.
I mean, that's phenomenal stuff.
It's so good.
So good, and I never thought, this guy, there's obviously a part of his personality, and I don't know him at all, but there's a part of his personality that I really like a lot, and it's to be thinking of that. Somebody didn't tell Zack Taylor to go do this. This is just who you are. He's a guy that has to physically walk through that crowd and all the phones in his face and selfies and all that other crap, and he's still got to walk through the bar and get up there in front of everybody and give the bartenders the game ball. It's really cool. Sam Weish was the last coach in this town, maybe the only coach in this town in the history of the franchise, that connected with the fan base. Sam was very different in his connection with the fan base. His had to do with when homelessness was really starting to become prominent in America and going down and visiting with homeless people and serving homeless people food, et cetera, et cetera. That's who Sam Weish was at his core. And in Zack Taylor, to think of the people that support this franchise and support him is off the charts cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And it's just such an easy little gesture to go there and to go to the bar to do that. I know he was all over the place last year. I know he went to MLTs. He's been all over. And as I don't know if you do this every playoff game for years if the Bengals keep up this pace. And, you know, I don't know if you do it for 5 years in a row, if you're winning 2 playoff games a year. But what a great tradition and just something so special that the people there will remember forever. They connect with it. Maybe there's people there that went to the game and aren't a huge Bengals fan, but, you know, they went to the game or they tailgated. But wait, we went to the bar, we saw the coach. Now I care about the team. You know, that's just the engagement part. It's one thing to go out and coach the team, and you have guys like Bill Belichick who have earned that respect by winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. But for a newer phase of this franchise, for Zack Taylor to usher this in with the quarterback and with the fan support to get that sold-out crowd, I was standing there watching the game, and I was thinking to myself, how cool it must feel for Joe Burrow. And at one point when the Bengals had the ball, the crowd was going ballistic. I mean, just insane as the Bengals were driving. And he flapped his arms like a bird and told the crowd to quiet down. And within 3 seconds, you could hear a pin drop in Paul Brown Stadium. And I stood there and I watched him do that. And I thought to myself, how cool must that feel for somebody to look around at 66,000 people and have control over every single one of them in that instance. And Zack Taylor and Joe Burrow and the rest of this Bengals team have completely taken over the city in that way. And it's so, so cool to see.
No doubt about it. I mean, no doubt about it.
Casey, you got any thoughts there on Zack?
Zack Taylor, I was very hard on him, critical. I think he's really come into his own. He's come into being a head coach.
Yep.
And he kind of gave some of his responsibilities away on the offensive play calling. And it's been spotty here and there, but for the most part, he is a great leader, a great judge of character, and knows how to will a locker room.
Yep.
And knows how to will the people to believe in him.
You know what I liked? I thought one of the most interesting comments that I've heard made about Zack Taylor was made by Joe Burrow, where he said, look, he's not a rah-rah guy. Said he's not that guy. He's not the guy that's going to walk into a locker room at halftime or before a game and give some, win one for the Gipper kind of speech. That's not who he is. He says, but when he does have something to say, he said more times than not, it's directly on point, exactly what needed to be said at the right time, and that is the job of the head coach. He's the CEO. He's hired good coaches. The organization's allowed him to go out there and get good coaches, and assistant coaches can make the head coach look like a genius. Just let him do his job. We disagreed. Play calls, like you said, Casey, the stuff in the preseason, some of the nonsense. But look, they played like big boys last night, and it was Harbaugh, ironically enough, who their offensive coordinator, Roman, who some say is going to get run. How are you going to run that guy? You didn't even have Lamar Jackson, and when they did, they were scoring 27, 28 a game when Jackson was playing. But anyway, they're doing handoffs to the tight end on 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding?
Yeah,
you got a quarterback averaging 7 yards a carry in the game last night, and you got Dobbins, a running back, averaging 5.5. And on 3rd and 1, you're giving the ball on a run to the tight end? Yeah. Believe me, the Bengals, in a lot of ways, they were gifted that game last night on multiple levels. But a win is a win.
Tom, we've been talking a lot about the Bengals. We talked a lot about Joe Burrow.
And I need to talk a lot about the men's room. So I am going to step aside.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right.
Well,
while Tom goes to the bathroom here, what I was about to pitch for this, and I'll take care of it right now, is that the Bengals report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and productivity. Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Thank you, Encore. Appreciate all of your support.
We appreciate it.
So we have coming up today, we have the box lunch coming up at noon. That'll be with all of us in studio. Brandon will hop up into this chair. We'll play musical chairs. I'll go over there with Reed. Trace will be up on the set. I know Trace has a lot to talk about from this weekend. We haven't even gotten into the Giants and the Vikings game yesterday. We'll talk about that when Tom comes back here into the studio from the restroom. Casey, we have a cherry on top that we'll get to. We have some sound from Sam Hubard that we can get to. But overall, I kind of look at this game, Casey, and we've talked a lot about it already. But overall, I keep going back to some of the things that you miss when you're in the stadium versus when you're watching the game on TV. When you're watching the broadcast. And we talk about how well some of these guys play, how poorly some of these guys play. Was there anybody that you felt like that stood out in your head that you were surprised by, whether good or bad? Is there anything that comes to the top of your head?
I mean, the one thing that just keeps me worried about the Ravens, honestly, was just where Roquan Smith was. He was literally on every tackle, it seemed like. It seemed like the announcer just wore out his name every time.
Yeah.
Roquan Smith, number 19 with a tackle. I mean, it didn't matter where it was. He was there. And that was just – I know he's a great football player, but that surprised me. The other guy that really surprised me was Jackson Carman and how bad he was. I mean, the dude – I don't know if you could see this in the broadcast, but the dude just kept flopping. Like, not flopping. He was literally being lifted up off the ground, being shoved up in the air, probably up by a foot on some of these blocking assignments. And, man, it was just rough. I didn't realize how bad he had gotten.
Well, we can talk about some positives here.
I know that's not what you were looking for.
We can talk about some positives, and one huge positive, we talk about, again, how the Bengals are incorporating their hometown. Well, just kind of by the luck of the draw, they get somebody from their hometown and Sam Hubard, and he makes what might be the biggest defensive play in franchise history.
Might be one of the biggest plays of all time for the Bengals.
Because not only did they score a touchdown on the play, it also prevented the touchdown that may have ended up being a season-ending touchdown for the Bengals.
A 14-point swing.
It was a 14-point swing on one play. Casey, let's roll the play one more time for people that might be just joining in, and then we'll roll the sound from Sam Hubard.
Right around Hundley, he reaches, that ball's out, that's live! Back the other way, Sam Hubard! The Cincinnati kid! Hubbard's got a convoy! Chased by Andrews! At the 30, the 20, he will score! Right around Hundley, he reaches,
And then, here, let's hear what Sam Hubard had to say after this one.
Even dreamed that one up. It's pretty special, but probably the feeling of just running to the sideline and seeing everybody's face. You can't replicate a feeling like that in life. You know, it's really special. Yeah, I was watching on the big screen. I was like, he's coming, somebody block. I'm like, please don't get caught. That's all I was thinking about. Nah, you can't even dream that one up. It's pretty special.
Great for Sam Hubard. Yep. I see some questions. Also, thank you in the chat. I see we got a super chat here from Rowdy Everpoint again, saying that Marcus Peters literally committed an illegal contact penalty or worse that wasn't called on nearly every pass play. T was getting mugged all game. We can talk more about that here in just a second. People were asking in the chat, was that a block in the back? I don't think so. Maybe by the letter of the law you could make an argument for it, but I think in that situation, in that perspective, I don't think it was a block in the back. I'd be curious to hear what you guys, if you guys have a take
I just
on
wish
that.
somebody would have hit him sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, there were two or three guys that had a chance to hit him like 30 yards before they actually did touch him. I think that was a complaint maybe most people felt like watching it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Von Bell was screaming, pitch it, lateral it to me, because Mark Andrews is coming up from the rear. And apparently Sam Hubard is telling Von Bell. I just read this from the
Charlie?
guy. Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
And I'm trusting Charlie on this one.
Oh,
you
I
guys told
trust
me all
Charlie.
about Charlie. So
Charlie's the man.
Charlie wrote that Sam Hubard was telling him, block Andrews, please. And
That's Charlie Goldsmith from the Cincinnati Enquirer. He's a great writer. But yes, it was.
He was mic'd up too.
Hubbard was mic'd up?
Yeah, so everybody's excited about what that's going to sound like when it comes out.
Oh, let's rock.
Yeah, so he was mic'd up.
Let's go. That's great.
We had a high school football official, the Cincinnati kid, who chimed in and said it was not a block in the back. We trust you, Cincinnati kid. Thank you.
Thom, we haven't done anything with the Giants and the Vikings yet today.
Well, that's where I was
Danny
going to go next,
Dimes.
because we got to talk in about the last 10 minutes about the game tonight and make our picks. But I just want to ask you guys, there was a lot of great football this weekend, and look, everybody knew it already. But, and Tim McGee touched on it. I mean, week after week after week after week, the NFL just continues to prove that it is not only the king of the jungle, it is in a different galaxy altogether than anything else in the heart and soul of the American sports fan. It's insane how good this product is. Yeah. It's insane. What jumped out to you, obviously, Paul, by you bringing this up, don't hurt yourself by patting yourself on the back.
Oh, okay? I won't.
Because you were the lone wolf in the wilderness, so to speak, believing in one Daniel Jones.
Look, Thom.
And he looked great. I mean, I thought he was the best quarterback over the weekend for any team in the postseason.
Yeah, look, somebody has to be in your corner, and I don't know if this is – I don't know if –
So you're in your own corner? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if this is where I really wanted to end up, but I'm here, and I guess I gotta stick around. Danny Dimes was 24 for 35 for 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks.
17 carries in the game. He had more carries than J.K. Dobbins for almost 80 yards.
Danny Dimes, baby. I found myself here, and I can't leave. And it takes down Leif Erikson and the Vikings. They didn't play at 1 o'clock, and didn't we say it?
No sign. Fair weather guy.
Leif Erikson?
Nowhere in the chat.
He hopped on his ship, and he's way out of here.
I mean,
he's gone.
And the Vikings' defense stinks. Boy, do they stink.
Yeah, they were frauds from the start.
But what about other thoughts from the weekend? You know, there's talk this morning. Do the Chargers stay with Brandon Staley as their head coach?
Ooh, yeah.
People are very critical of Brandon Staley, and rightfully so. But, I mean, it was a team effort loss. Yes, the defense had 5 turnovers, and yes, they scored 27 points on offense, or not on offense, but they scored 27 points. But the team lost that game. It wasn't, you can't blame just one guy. And if you want to, I mean, I guess the head coach is the one that you look to because you can't let your guys lose the game like that. But come on. Herbert was bad. The defense sucked. They couldn't stop anybody. They came out just thinking that they had this game under wraps. And Trevor Lawrence, man, I mean, how do you come back from 4 interceptions?
Guy's a gamer.
A gamer.
I mean, I'm sure creeping in the back of some random fan's mind, you're thinking, do they keep Trevor Lawrence in? Do they go to somebody else in the second half? Somebody out there somewhere. Somebody was
that would be an idiot.
Somebody was complaining about that.
That would be the definition in the dictionary of an idiot.
But to that point, that's –
I guess I'm an idiot.
Oh, no, Casey.
I was saying that they needed to bench
Casey, come on. Casey,
I
please.
said they needed
Just
to bench
keep it
Trevor.
to yourself, brother. Don't admit
that's
it.
Right. You shouldn't have said that, Casey.
Why?
Shouldn't have said that.
That's okay.
You're entitled to your opinion, though.
Yes.
You're entitled to their opinion. You know what? That's exactly right. Go ahead.
He proved me wrong, right? That's the beauty of this is that Trevor Lawrence just surprised me. Most of the time, any quarterback is just donezo after 3 interceptions in the first quarter. Especially to the same guy 3 times.
Yeah.
But credit to Trevor. I mean, he kept it together, and that Jags team, I'm going to have trouble not picking the Jaguars to win that game.
Against the Chiefs?
After watching
God,
that.
I love you, Casey.
After watching that.
I love you, Casey. You fired me up.
Me?
God, we can't cuss on this, but let's go. Let's go. I love it, Casey. Because I always think of myself as a glass half full guy, but damn, yours is 3/4 full, if not more.
Amen. Amen, brother.
I love it.
Amen. But back to the Staley and the Herbert thing. Guys, if they get one more first down in the entire second half, the game is over. The game's over. You burn a minute 20 at the minimum off the clock by getting one more first down and thus a brand new set of downs. And you mean to tell me the LA Chargers... Now, look, the reason most people are so upset with Staley is because of what happened the week before. You know, we don't get into a lot of this in this town because we don't cover the Chargers. But you may recall, Staley was a guy who doesn't play any of his starters in the preseason. Okay? Nobody. Right? They played their last regular season game. Their last regular season game. When they weren't going to slip. Well, there was a chance if the Ravens won. But they were in the playoffs. And he ran out a bunch of guys. All of his starters played the entire game. Guys that have been injury prone this year. Most notably, wide receiver Mike Williams. Williams injures his back in that game. A meaningless last game of the season against Denver. He plays the starters the whole game. They get beat. Williams gets hurt. Williams does not play against the Jaguars this past weekend.
He already knew that the Bengals had won, right? That game was
No. They had a chance to slip to the number 6
The
spot.
Bengals had already won, though. That was a 4:30 game, was it not?
No. You're saying the weekend before. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Forgive me. Yes, you're exactly right. That's exactly right.
He played all of his starters?
Yes, he did. And so people are going crazy that follow the Chargers. And how many of them there are out there, I have no idea. Maybe it's just us talking about this. But, you know, and then their kicker misses a chip shot field goal.
Bad
Which,
scene.
speaking of, fellas, is anybody in the room worried about Evan McPherson?
Oh, boy.
All right, so similar to my Daniel Jones take, I said about 3 weeks ago that I was not worried about Evan McPherson. I got to stick with that. I got to stick with it. I saw too much last year to concern me. But the extra points, it's not even the field goals. It's the extra points he's missing. 4 times?
I don't know what's going on there, but it's got to change.
What do you want, a new kicker?
No, I mean...
What's got to change? You just got to make them?
He's got to start making them, or there's got to be I haven't really been focused in on what do they call it? What is the snap to the hold? What do they call it in technical terms? I don't know exactly, but the actual... No, I'm not talking about special teams.
You're just talking about the whole exchange from snap to hold to kick.
Just the exchange.
And they have a brand new, remember now, since the season started, let's not forget because it happened so long ago where Clark Harris got hurt, right? They have a new snapper from where they started the year. They have a new holder from the beginning of the year. That was
the
Kevin
operation.
Hubard. Now it is Drew Chrisman. What's that?
The operation is what they call it.
Okay, all right. But the point being is 2/3 of that group is brand new. But that's old news now.
Yeah, I don't think that plays into this now.
I don't know if it does, but it just – those are the two things that are different. We know what Money Mac did last year. So you just naturally assume it might still be the operation or maybe the trust that's there that's not there anymore.
Well, and your guy Thomas makes a good point here in the chat that at halftime I was like, you could see him. He came out. He was hitting kicks from distance.
But somebody said before the game he wasn't making anything.
Yeah.
And again, how much stock you put in that, I don't know. I mean, how many times have we read where a kicker after the game, he kicks a game-winning field goal, and they ask him, hey, did you feel good today? He says, no, I missed everything in warm-ups. So I don't know. I think those guys are all head cases, and it's all between the ears. I think some of them have been at it so long. That dude for the Ravens is just, it's insane.
Well, the craziest
It's insane.
He kicks it right down the middle
never
every time.
misses.
That's the thing is it's not that he just doesn't miss. It's that it's right down the middle every time.
Every time. Every time. But, I mean, McPherson's got time to be that guy. When it mattered the most last year, he was lights out. Period. But the only thing is that, remember, last year the Bengals offense, with all of its bright stars and great players and playmakers, it was the defense and Evan McPherson that marched them to the Super Bowl. It was not this offense. They had a terrible time scoring touchdowns. And here we are, one game into the postseason. And at least for one game, they might score 7 offensive touchdowns this week in Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is good. It ain't that good. So we might forget all about this. But for one game, the offense again in the postseason is not holding up its end of the bargain. We agree?
Agreed.
You're allowed to disagree.
No, I agree with you right now.
All right. Anything else here?
We got 15 minutes left here. Is there anything else that we have missed from the weekend? I had some notes that I was going back on. I think we've checked all the boxes on the Bengals.
Well, what about your boy? Any comment, by the way, Casey, on your boy Brock Purdy?
Oh, true.
I still stand by what I said. I think he's a really good system guy. I watched that game from start to finish, and the 49ers just completely outmatched the Seahawks. It was kind of For a half. But, I mean, DK Metcalf is a beast.
Soft.
What? You think he's
soft?
soft?
Soft. Backs down. If you really watch that guy play enough, taking plays off, I don't want him on my team. I don't want that guy.
He was okay, well, you can have that opinion, but I just thought that the 49ers just completely outmatched them. I think their coaching staff is much better than the Seahawks, and they kind of proved it. I mean, they had 3 or 4 different guys score for the 49ers, and Brock Purdy was distributing the ball, but those guys were not really in tight windows. I just – it's hard to get behind thinking that he's going to be more than just this system quarterback. I think even so, that makes him still a very good quarterback. But I'm not ready to crown him in the top 10 echelon or anything like that.
Okay,
I think he's a great. I think he's a great system guy right now. And when the league figures out how to stop their run game and still cover Kittle, I think we'll see a completely different quarterback.
Well, Kittle only had 2 receptions for 37 yards.
Right,
and your guy
Metcalf
had a monster game in that game. There's no doubt about that. 10 catches, couple
them.
touchdowns. But McCaffrey is averaging 8 yards a carry. And they run the ball 33 times. They throw it 30. 33 times for 181 yards. McCaffrey is, boy, is he playing.
Yeah,
he looks like a whole. Maybe people in Carolina saw this every single game, and when he was healthy, and he hadn't been healthy in recent years. But man, that guy's playing.
That offensive line just blows open holes for him, and he always makes the first guy either miss or not get a clean tackle, and he just so explosive. I mean, I really enjoy watching Christian McCaffrey run, especially on this team.
Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt for either one of you? And Casey, maybe you would be the guy that say you have some doubts, but Paul, I'm curious your opinion before we get to this Tampa Bay game tonight. The 49ers are on their 3rd starting quarterback this year. They've won 11 in a row, and they are demolishing people. I mean, they're not even playing tight games. They're blowing everybody out of the gym.
Agreed.
You started the year with Trey Lance, which we all agreed at the time. We said it here on the show, big mistake. Big mistake, especially in the locker room. With Garoppolo there, proven winner. Lance gets hurt, out. Garoppolo in, he gets hurt, out. Here comes Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, last guy taken in the draft. Is there any debate as to who your quarterback? I don't care if they get beat by 100 next week, which is not going to happen. But is there any debate as to who your starter is going into training camp next year, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers?
It's Jimmy G.
No, what?
Over Brock Purdy? Jimmy G's gone.
Yeah.
Long gone.
I think it's between Trey Lance and Purdy.
It's not Lance.
Well, he's going to be in the mix. I promise. He's the number 1 pick. That's why they started him over Garoppolo this year.
You give him a chance. He hasn't played in 3 years. Trey Lance hasn't played. He's been hurt. He hasn't played in 3 years.
I know.
He's been hurt and he's sat out. So then it's Purdy. If it's not Jimmy G, then it's Purdy. It's not Lance. But they'll give him a shot because he was the number 1 pick. They'll give him a shot.
Yeah, they sacrificed so much of their future for him.
Yeah, you got to give him a shot.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be Purdy. I mean, this guy has taken them to higher heights. Now, Garoppolo got him to a Super Bowl. Whether or not Purdy can do that or not. I'm surprised how many people write in on his chat about Patrick Mahomes being overrated. I
don't know how you can say that.
I mean, what is a guy supposed to do? Seriously, what does he have to do? He's like 70-15 in his division. They've won 10 or more games every year. They've won the division every year he's been in the league. They've been to the championship game 3 times. They've been to 2 Super Bowls, and he's won a Super Bowl in 4.5 years. What is the guy supposed to do to not be overrated?
I'm not ready to have that fight for today. I'm not, my voice is not having it.
Casey.
I'm not ready for that fight today.
That's because you were in there. You and was your bride to be with you last night? No, you were with your best man.
I was with both.
Oh,
all 3 went.
Huge.
Really?
Yep.
Darth Brando says Mahomes is overrated. All right, Darth. All right, but Casey's not ready to get into this. Sneaker Man says stop hyping Mahomes. I'm not hyping Mahomes. I'm just giving the facts. Giving the facts. All right, boys. Tonight, we have one more pick to make.
We do have a pick to make.
For the weekend. I'm really excited to watch this game. And there's nothing that has been exciting in any form or fashion to watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Nothing. Zero. But it's still Tom Brady. As your generation likes to say, in my generation, you said GOAT, the guy's a clown, and he screwed up a game. Your generation has turned that into an acronym for greatest of all time. And he is at quarterback for the Buccaneers tonight. The GOAT, Tom Brady, leader of men. I'm taking the Buccaneers tonight. What's the spread on that one according to Betfred?
2.5.
I am taking Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to cover that.
At home. Casey.
Ooh, I've struggled with this one back and forth, but my dad and I talked about it last night, and my dad is a very, very smart man. He knows football, and he's watched this Tom Brady-led Bucs, and he sees a lot of holes. And I tend to agree with him. I see a lot of holes there, and the Cowboys, man, that defense, if it comes and it shows up, it's going to be a hell of a night for Tom Brady. Give me the Cowboys to cover this 2.5.
Ooh.
Well, we will have our full picks recap tomorrow with the updated standings and everything once this game goes final tonight. I'm going to take a shot here, and I'm going to say the Cowboys get it done on the road. I'm going to take a shot.
Isn't this ultimately, and maybe you could say some of them are, but I think this one crystallizes heart versus head kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're just one of those people who's a Tom Brady hater. But this is a heart versus head thing. Your heart tells you, boy, it'd be great to see Brady one more time. Try to make the run and come out there and get it done, prime time, playoffs, blah, 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 right? But your head tells you they have stunk all year long. He has been average at best. The Cowboys are a better team. They have better players. And so your head says Dallas. But we're about to find out. Do we have a cherry on top today or no?
We do, and it's a personal one.
Really?
Yeah.
A Chatterbox special.
It's a Chatterbox special. Play it.
I would just come right out to it. How about that? Because this one is special. And I just want everyone to direct their attention to the front page here. The very first picture is our man, our number one sales rep, Sean Dixon.
Oh, my God.
That's Sean Dixon. He's not on the content side of things. He's on the sales side of things. He sits outside on the other side of the wall. But that is Sean Dixon with a Bengals hat and a ton of cups on his head.
That is a big-time lid.
Isn't it?
That is sweet. That is very sweet.
Yeah, and not only that, I just want to say one thing to correct the newspaper. His age is 36, not 38.
Well, he would appreciate that.
Yes, he would.
Sean, congratulations. And congratulations to the Bengals. By the way, Paul, I thought of you before we go because there have been a lot of people asking about it. I made the drive down to Texas.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I was wrong about the Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is on the other highway, right, when you're going south.
Yeah.
Okay? But once I crossed into the great state of Texas, I said to our daughter, you know, I got to stop at Buc-ee's. And I got to get some merch. I've never seen one of these places before. You know, but as I said to you, it had to be, I am a sweatshirt connoisseur. And Champion makes the best sweatshirts of anybody. They're the best. They're the gold standard out there. Didn't have to be Champion for me to buy it, but it had to be something that would last for a while. And I didn't get it, but that is a big league operation.
The Beaver?
It's unbelievable.
Isn't it?
It's unbelievable. If you haven't seen one, I had never seen one, and I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
Is that why you picked the Buccaneers tonight, the Buc-ee's?
Well, maybe there's something to it. Maybe
there's
that's
something
a
to it.
foreshadowing.
Maybe there is, Tom.
All right. Casey, Paul, thank you, gentlemen. Brandon. Gentlemen, box lunch. Here we go.
Did you get any food from Buc-ee's?
You know what? I didn't. The brisket sandwich I heard was awesome. My daughter told me it was great. And I've eaten, thousands of meals like the rest of us in my car through the years, going to this thing with your kids or that thing when you're younger and driving here, driving there. I just, I didn't want to do it. I had to go right to the airport. We had driven till about midnight to get to Texarkana, Texas on Friday night, get up the next morning so I can drive straight to the airport to get on a plane to fly home. Stopped at Buc-ee's.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Buc-ee's is great.
Loved it.
It's great.
Loved it. Wish we had one close to here. I'm sure it's coming soon.
We have one 2 hours from here. If you ever get the
Where?
Richmond, Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Where are these located? What geographical?
I think a bunch of them are in Texas, right?
They're based out of Texas, but there are, if you drive down to Florida, there are 3 on your way. One's in Richmond, Kentucky. There's 2 in Georgia.
Those are all on 75,
All
right?
on 75.
Yes, going straight south.
Correct.
Yeah.
The closest one is 2 hours away in Richmond, Kentucky.
Which we need to figure out if you're going to make the trip out west here soon, Tom. We'll give you maybe how much more time do you need to figure out if you're going out to Kansas?
I will know today.
All right, big time.
I will know today.
I was going to say, if there's a Buc-ee's on the way, then we'll make a big deal about it.
One of the things that I did not think of was that remember I said to you there was something on the back of my mind, and it is we have to plan a couple of college visits for our son because once he starts lacrosse season in about 3 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks, he can't go anywhere. So we got to sneak in a couple of college visits. And that's one of the areas we were looking at when you would be there that weekend. That's the AFC Championship game.
It would be the AFC Championship.
Yes.
Could
be.
be.
Kansas City.
Could be.
Well, it's going
could
to be.
also
It's a
be
matter
in
of whether-
Cincinnati.
What's that?
Could also be in Cincinnati. I'm going to try to raise some spirits in here from time to time. I feel like if you're not a fan today and you're not at least somewhat happy, then what's the point?
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
What's the point? Because that's a game that the Bengals should have lost. Out of 100 times in the same situation, they lose 95 out of the 100.
You're right about that.
They found the 5 last night, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
There's people in the chat talking about, well, if Lamar would have played, they would have won. It doesn't matter because Lamar didn't play.
That's
so
right.
what's it matter?
That's right.
Who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, You won. You got the big bad Bills next. We'll get into that in a little bit. But
you're a little south on the big bad Bills.
The last thing I want to hear, though, is you talk about the hardballs ever again in a very positive manner.
I'm going to talk about them in a positive manner because if based on what you just said,
what?
Okay, at the end of the day, getting dubs.
Well, they better the
hardballs. I'll take them all day, every day.
The hardballs better have pro. They better have digital clocks in their house because they don't know how to read a clock. I can tell you that.
Well, that I'm not going to argue about, but I know at the end of the day, if you want to talk about John Harbaugh had his team ready to play last night.
They executed their plan perfectly.
No doubt about it. Now, he screwed up.
Yes.
He screwed up. And this is where you get into the whole thing about, we're talking about the Evans or the Andrews running on third down in the yard, talking about not having Dobbins in the game when you get inside the 5. Look, that's a part of football, fellas, and maybe you guys understand it a lot better than I do because I know I understand nothing about it. But I used to talk to Barry Alvarez about this all the time. Barry Alvarez won 3 Rose Bowls, turned around and turned Wisconsin into one of the top 20 college football programs in the country when it might have been the worst in all Division I when he took the job. And I would talk to him for hours about as a head coach who's not the play caller, okay? And now all of a sudden you start hearing all this stuff inside your head about the plays that are being called by your offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, in this case for the Ravens. If I'm John Harbaugh, and this is where I said he cost him the game last night, so I've already gone on record as saying that.
Fair.
All right? I've already gone on record as saying it. But when I hear third down in the yard in the red zone, and my offensive coordinator has decided the way my quarterback is running the ball and the way my primary running back is running the ball, that my tight end is going to get a handoff 3rd and 1, somebody's getting an earful.
Yeah.
And when my player personnel grouping inside the 10 to try and take the lead against Cincinnati in a playoff game, and that player personnel package does not have J.K. Dobbins inside the 3, somebody's losing their job.
You mean you don't like the roll out to the right on the 3-yard line to throw it all the way back to the left?
No.
A screen pass?
No, I don't.
You don't like that play?
No, I don't. And I for the life of me, I don't understand how when these guys are hearing stuff in their headset, I don't understand how they don't just step in there and just say, hold on a second here. What in the world are we thinking about? Turn around, give the ball to Dobbins. Turn around, give the ball to Dobbins. Turn around, give the ball to Edwards. What's Edwards weigh? 240 pounds or something?
Yes.
Right?
Big boy.
Big boy.
Right.
If you looked at the play that you're talking about with Andrews on the running play, where he's basically a running back.
Yes.
They blocked that play to perfection, if you've seen it. Now, I'm not trying to say that Andrews is made a huge mistake. He's not a running back, so I can't crush him for that. But if you watch the replay, he could have not walked into the end zone, but he would have been in the end zone if he ran through the hole that they were designing to block.
But
he bounced it outside.
He doesn't understand that. Nor should he.
And that's my point.
Right.
Is like at some point, why don't you just keep it simple, which is what they did 95 yards during their on the offense possessions for the first 95 yards. They're like, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to line it up and hand it off left, hand it off right, bootleg. And they were doing a great job. They were running it right down the Bengals' throat. And then inexplicably, they just decided that at that point, they threw the ball, I think, inside the 5-yard line last night. The Ravens, I think, threw the ball like five out of the 6 attempts that they had, or 4 out of the 5. I don't remember exactly. But it just goes to show you that it's like, as much as we sit in this room and we admit that we don't know a lot about football, and as much as you can say that from a fan perspective, you don't, it's hard to have an X's and O's conversation with someone that does this every day of their life, and they'll just treat you like you're just completely stupid.
Right.
They'll be like, you're dumb. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
It's like, well, like at some point, you got to admit that the just the common sense nature of what the fans talk about has to come to fruition at some point.
Well, I got to tell you, Trace, last night for me, and I found this to be, I don't know what the word is, but it was enlightening to me. Because as I said, I sat at home by myself last night because my wife had to leave. I sat at home and watched every play of that game on television. and could pay attention to every play of the game and the ebbs and flows of a game, which makes football so great. It's why I hate the red zone. When you watch a game and this kind of thing, right? Going to pick up my son, and we talked about this earlier, I had to drive down and pick up my son and a buddy of his who went to the game. And the conversation about the game, riding home, was like people that watch two entirely different games. And so I only bring that up because it made me maybe open my mind a little bit to, well, wow, maybe this is what it's like for a coach on the sideline. You know what I mean?
Right,
they have the worst seat in the house, which a lot of times a lot of fans have the worst seat in the house, right? Unless you're the big money crowd right there at the 40 or 50, whatever it is.
Right.
Terrible seat as a head coach. You really have no feel for kind of what's going on or what, how they're reacting to certain things. You're trusting guys up in the booth who have a very good look at it. But to watch that game on television last night, and most of you watched it on television last night, that was a game that Baltimore dominated the game. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to my son, and these guys know football. They love football. They watch it all the time. They know everything going on around the league with every player and everything happening. But when I said to them, Baltimore had 150 more yards of offense. Yeah, Baltimore ran for 105 yards more than the Bengals. Yeah, Tyler Huntley threw for more yards than Joe Burrow. No clue. Because you're at the game and you're emotional and you're into it and the crowd and things, right? You were there.
Well, I was there.
Big league operator.
I absolutely, in like the end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter, they showed the stats on the scoreboard. And I look up and I see Tyler Huntley has thrown for 60 more yards than Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow had only thrown for like 170 yards at the time. And it shocked me because, you're at the game and you're watching everything that's happening. But you don't get spoon-fed all this information from the stats and the broadcasters and everything like that. You're just watching the game with your own eyes, and you don't sense those things in real time. And that's the difference between being at the stadium and being at the game is a lot of your opinion of what is going on the game when you're watching it on television is brought to you by the camera angles, the broadcasters, the stats that they show. You don't get any of that at the game.
No.
Play of the game last night for me, which again, obviously you can say it was the punch out in the run, but it was the play before that. There was a play right before that where Von Bell stood a guy up at the 1 yard line.
Edwards.
Was it Edwards?
Yep.
Yeah, Edwards is 240 some odd pounds. That's a huge play.
Yep.
And to be fair, Edwards, I think, kind of got tripped up a little bit before. He didn't hit him in full force because if he did, he probably would have scored. But those are the small things. Like they always talk about football being a game of inches. But that was a huge, huge play in that game, which set up, obviously, Tyler Huntley being an idiot. But, it is what it is. Bengals fans, I've said it time and time again. Somehow, some way, that defense, they're not as good as that 05 defense. But they always find to make the play that the 05 defense never could make.
That's right.
So which side would you rather have? I would prefer to have the defense that you can consider every week say they're lucky.
No doubt about it.
Give me the team that finds a way to always win over a team that statistically is more superior.
And again, that 05 team, in fairness, I thought both of the guys were total gamers, but they were also, the mistakes they made mentally that cost your team so many games and so many big moments there. With Burfict and Jones.
Yeah,
that's the group you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
15. I'm sorry,
15.
Not 05.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, those guys, they were great players. But, you don't see Jermaine Pratt or Logan Wilson or even Eli Apple. Pick somebody, right? You don't see those, Mike Hilton. Those guys don't make those mistakes. They might make mistakes, but they don't make those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, boys. Have at it. Big day today. Clock management. So Trace is going to take apart the Harbaughs.
Not just them, but yeah.
All right.
Your boy Herbert.
You don't want to get into that today.
I'm leaving it be.
We'll get into that tomorrow a little bit. I think that's the worst take that I think you have, and I don't know why. And it's a lot of Bengals fans. I just don't know why we do that. We'll talk about it a little bit today.
Fair enough.
But I don't know why we do this. What's the point? We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Good luck, boys.
Thanks, Tom.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
Worst
microphones.
trade of all time. happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize
anymore.
these guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
When we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, run that track.
All right, welcome to Box Lunch. We have a pretty big show, a lot to talk about. I know Bengals are probably going to take up the vast majority of this show, and rightfully so, but I also want to get into some other things, some topical things over the NFL weekend that I observed. I want to know if you observed them as well, what your thoughts are on them. We have the cast of characters as usual. We'll run around the room. Paul Fritchter, Reed Mouse, Seho, and Casey McAllister, who's always there, and Thom, who's thinking about leaving here as we speak. So here's the thought on the clock management thing. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because at the end of the day, we've all seen it. We've all heard it. I've said it before, and I propose the question to not only the chat, but everyone in the room. At what point in the NFL do we just assign this to someone as their job? There's millions of staffers on the sideline. There's millions of dollars in head coaches. They're not just coaches, but coaches in general. And somehow, some way, we can't find out how in the world to manage a clock. Now, I want to bring up a clip here to start the show off first. Thom said that Stevie Wonder could have seen that it wasn't a first down. I disagree. I have a clip that I'm going to show you. I think that Mike McDaniels had an actual real reason as to why they had to delay a game. But it all comes back to the fact that you have no timeouts in the first place. So to start this show off really quickly, I want to show you one thing. And Casey, if you do me a favor, when you run this, if you could leave our mics hot. I don't know if you're able to do that while we're running live here. But keep our mics hot because I want to talk about a couple things. Go ahead and throw it up there and don't run it yet, Casey, if you can. Put the actual just still screen up there with this Dolphins game. So this is a big moment in the game, right? It's 3rd and 2 right there. And look at the first down marker. Usually the yellow line, in my opinion, the yellow line is accurate 95 out of 100 times, right? The yellow line, if you look at it closely, is just a hair off from where the chains actually are, right? The chains are just inside the 49-yard line on this image. Hand the ball off, run the clip, Casey. There's some slow motion that I put inside of here on exactly where it should just automatically play the slow motion, Casey. So you'll see, I don't know exactly where his knee hits, but to sit here and say that he 100% didn't get that ball in his right hand, which the ball's in his right hand, didn't get it to the spot is crazy talk, right? It's one of those things where to sit here and say that you know for sure that they got there. Now this is obviously where they obviously had to go out in 4th and 1, and then they got the delayed game. So that's good, Casey. I mean, people have seen enough of it. I just don't know how in the NFL we're to a point right now. And Casey, you can run that back up there. I have Mike McDaniels, I think, next, just so you know, on did you exit out of it? I'll give you some time to pull it back up. But Mike McDaniels explains to the folks exactly what he had heard. Run it with the audio, Casey, whenever you're ready here. But here is Mike McDaniels on what he was told, as Thom pointed out earlier.
They'll back him up 5 yards.
Whether it was officials or coaching, there was some communication that we'd gotten the first down. So then we were deploying a group of players for the 1st and 10 call, and then it was articulated that no, it was 4th down. So
that's that. I'll jump off of this real fast, Casey. I'm going to finish this point here. At the end of the day, I think, and I'll ask you guys around the room, I know you probably didn't hear that clip, but Mike Daniels basically admitted that someone in his headset or someone told him that he was told that was a first down. And that's why they ran out the 1st and 10 personnel. 1st and 10 personnel wasn't the same personnel they obviously wanted on 4th and inches. So then they tried to hurry out the 4th and inches, and they never got the playoff in time, delay of game. I think, and this is all speculative, I think that an official told him it was first down by the way that he's talking. I genuinely think that. And then all of a sudden, the other marker or the other person that spotted the ball must have made it short enough to where then now it was not first down. Do you think that would be a thing possibly to where he just doesn't want to call out the NFL and get fined a bunch of money because the official, you can't criticize the officials. You can criticize your own staff, but you can't criticize officials when it comes to a fine. Thoughts?
Do you think that if a ref did tell him wrong information that they would rectify it in real time?
I almost feel like it's like a kid situation where you have two line judges, right? Two people that spot the ball on each side.
Right.
The female on the near side, which was away from the Dolphins bench, is the one that actually spotted the football. The one on the other side was running in as well. I was assuming that when he was running back, he was telling him that it was a first down. And then it was just like this weird situation that you have as kids and adults, if we can be honest, from time to time, where you're like, oh, shit. No, it's 4th down. And he's like, oh, no, it's 4th down.
Right.
And you just kind of just eat it because you know that mutually no one can prove that you told him it was first down.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on the referees in that situation, but it feels like that's kind of might have what happened.
Where did because I wasn't watching this game because that was actively when I was driving down. Where did their timeouts go? Because why couldn't they call a timeout in that situation either? Because they ran out. How did they use 3 timeouts before the 2-minute mark in that game?
Well, it's similar to
There's
what the
play
Bengals
clock
go.
one too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, wasn't there like a random play clock one in the 3rd quarter where they just called it? I mean, it was just terrible timeout management.
Yeah, all game they had terrible time management.
Well, they had a 3rd-string quarterback in there, so it takes a little longer to relay plays, which Thom illustrated beautifully on his show. So, but I don't. We're speculating here, right?
Yeah, this is all speculative. And listen, it doesn't mean they were going to win the game. I'm not trying to say the NFL's fixed. No, that's not what I'm getting at.
Trevor Lawrence said it's scripted.
I'm not going to get into this.
I'm kidding.
I know you are. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I don't believe that was the sole reason for a win or a loss. They only needed probably 10 more yards for a field goal attempt, to be fair, though, to tie the game. And I just think to say that it wasn't close is kind of wild. And then I do have the other clip. You've all seen it. I don't know how Harbaugh can live with himself in this situation. I don't have the whole entire length of time they took, but you guys were at the game. You didn't really get a chance to see it perhaps up on the screen. Paul was saying, what are they doing? What are they doing? At home, you're wondering, what are they doing? I know what the thought is.
Right.
The thought is we don't want Joe Burrow to get the football. We're going to let the clock run. But at some point, you're still on that 30-yard line. You're not like a goal-to-goal situation here. There's 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Were you expecting to throw a seam route and score in the next play? Or were you just going to keep running the ball, therefore running clock, and knowing that you're going to run more clock off? And it's okay to we've gotten so far into this notion that you have to run clock off at the end of a game instead of score. Just score. I'm not saying this as just the Ravens situation, the Bengals situations, the Bills, the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen last year and those two defenses made it so unfathomable to think that you can't leave any time on the clock. When, in fact, let's face it, fellas, if that truly was the thought process with Harbaugh, I have a severe problem with that too, because the Bengals were not moving the ball on offense hardly at all in the second half, and they had 3 linemen out, and at some point you knew they were going to have to pass the ball. That's a terrible idea to sit there and be like, well, we can't leave any time on the clock for Joe Burrow. Watch this play. They run the play. It's at the 20. They're at the 28-yard line. He drops back to pass. Go ahead. He hits his receiver. First down, first of all. And the next play is getting snapped at 33 seconds.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Right here.
It's just basically the difference. You have 1 minute and 16 on the clock. He crosses the first down line at 1:10 10 right now. Timeout, 109 left on the clock. Instead, they saved themselves for 2 timeouts.
It's absurd.
And they're on the 19-yard line. Casey, that's enough. Like that is what I'm talking about in the NFL. There's too many people that spend 100 hours a week working on all this stuff for someone not just be like, hey, we need to call a timeout here.
I don't necessarily think you need to call a timeout there, but you definitely got to hustle up. You can't let 40 seconds tick off the clock. You can't let it go all the way down to 30 seconds left. I mean, you can use those timeouts later, but hurry back up to the line, run a play at the 55, 50-second mark, and take 15 seconds off. And the idea was right? We're all in agreement that he was trying to limit time away from Joe Burrow. You just get kind of lost in that idea, which has to be what happened, to where he looks up at the clock and goes, oh shit, there's 25 seconds left, and he just got lost in the whole thing. And that's where Trace's point about there needs to be a guy that's literal job is to sit in a headset, and he can't be a part of any other decision making, because sometimes you concede, right? If you're in the room, the coach's room, and you kind of go like, all right, Hardball's got an idea of this. I'll concede to him. He can do what he wants to do. But no, he's literally has a microphone, and he just comes in at certain times like, timeout. And that's all you got to say. And then Hardball just concede to them at that very moment.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with the point that this was very different, and this was the conversation that I was having with my friend while I was sitting there or standing there, when we were saying that he was not in a situation where you knew you were going to score.
Right.
If you're at the 1 yard line with 45 seconds left and it's first down,
right? Then you.
I know it's tough to say that you're going to score, because we literally saw them score last night. But look, 9 times out of 10, you're probably scoring in a situation like that inside the 1 yard line. They were at the 40, the 30, the 40. They had a long way to go to even score the game-tying touchdown. It's not like they were setting up Justin Tucker. They're down 3, and they're, we could score a touchdown to win the game, but if not, we got the best kicker of all time. We can tie the game, send it to overtime, whatever. That's that. You're sitting there. I'm standing there. I'm going, what are they doing?
Right. I agree full-heartedly.
And then they start to make some progress. They get down the field. Then you have a holding call, backs them up. That's where you just can't rely on that. Something could go wrong. You could get a penalty, whatever it might be. You get backed up, and now all of a sudden you're screwed, and you got to chuck up a Hail Mary at the very end.
You've also got Tyler Huntley back there. It's not like you have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen to where 40 seconds with those guys on the 30-yard line. Like, we can score from here.
We can still do this.
It's like you need as much time as possible.
Correct. And that's the final point I'll make in this situation. Could you argue from time to time you don't want to call a timeout when you're running tempo and you have a defense on the proverbial the heels, and you know that you just want to keep moving? That's not what the Ravens are, and that's not what they were last night. They were just methodically moving the ball 10, 15 yards at a time. It wasn't like they were getting huge chunk plays. The biggest chunk play last night of the entire game, outside of obviously the fumble recovery, but was the pass that looked like a sack to I think it was Dobbins in the flat, and he ran for 25 yards. That's the biggest play of the game for both sides. So to sit here and act like they were going to be able to try to hurry up. My last point is this. The idea of saving timeouts at the end of the game in case so you quote unquote have one is the dumbest argument in the world. I'll tell you why. Because a timeout is worth 40 seconds at best. Right, guys? Your timeout literally is worth 40 seconds at best. And in that situation, right, I see it all the time. What are the 2 best times to take a timeout if you're trying to either save time and or basically make sure you don't lose a bunch of time, which I guess is the same thing, is a huge sack and a huge gain, or a 10 to 15-yard gain. Mm-hmm. It takes everybody 10 to 15 yards. They got to run up. They got to line up. They got to get the play call in. And then they take a huge sack. All the receivers that are downfield have to come all the way back. And your timeout is literally just there to save the extra 20 to 25 seconds it would traditionally take. And the other thing coaches don't come to realize at some point is there's penalties in football. Guys run out of bounds in football. There's incomplete passes in football. So when you're sitting there as the Ravens, I think the Ravens last night, correct me if I'm wrong, and we're going to move on and talk about the Bengals, is I genuinely think Hardball is like, we're going to take some timeouts at the end of this game right here. So it doesn't look like I'm going to walk home with 2 timeouts. So they took 2 timeouts with one was with another timeout, and then the other timeout they took was like a 5-second burn-off timeout. I'm just like, I'm so baffled as to where at some point, maybe in 5 years, we just look back. And I want you guys to give me one example of like in the NFL that they do something and we're like, why didn't they always just do it like this? It just makes perfect sense. It's almost like the idea when they implemented being able to put the play calls in your ears.
Right.
And it's like, why don't we just always put the play call in the ear of the quarterback instead of having a wide receiver run on the field and tell somebody what the play is? I mean, at some point in 5 years, I hope that there's just like a clock game manager.
There's got to be.
Well, haven't they already started?
Well, there's a guy. Some teams have a guy that, or maybe it's more of a college thing.
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
maybe it is college.
They bring the sideline, like he's walking with the coach, and he's the one that pulls. Usually, it's the strength and conditioning coach or someone like that.
Guy?
Yeah, the get back guy, so he doesn't get a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct for being out there chirping at the refs.
I'm pretty sure in what I've done, and I could be wrong, and this also could be the college game, but I'll help with stats with some of these guys with broadcasters sometimes, and I'm pretty sure when I've put some stat sheets and prep sheets together, I have filled out information for like a clock manager or a game manager that ends up being a clock manager, but that might just be college.
I think that I'm serious. They should get every head coach should get a guy that they trust, one guy that they trust, and you say, listen, you're not going to be a part of any game talks. You're not going to be a part of any decision making. The only thing that I need you for is sit in a separate room with a microphone to my headset, and you get in when we should take a timeout. And I concede to you at all moments of the time. You are in charge of calling these timeouts. Because I truly think if there is a game manager, a clock manager, oftentimes, especially a coach that has had the success that John Harbaugh has, you sometimes go like, he knows what he's doing. Correct. I'll concede to him. He's going to be okay. You need a guy that is separate from everything.
Nailed it.
His only job is to show up and go, timeout. Take a timeout right now. That's all he does.
Nailed it. That's exactly what it needs to be. It needs to be somebody that's their sole job, and at the end of the game, if the head coach gets asked about any clock management questions, he's going to say, I was listening to my clock manager. Right? We don't sit there and complain about realistically like what defense they were trying to run at the end of a game on the head coach. Why? Because that's the defensive coordinator's job. At some point, we just put that in the specific person's job up in the booth. They call a timeout. All right, let's move on to Hubard. Here's my thought on the whole situation. I'm not again going to sit here and play the advocate as a fan. In fact, I'll be the opposite. I think that last night the Bengals got completely outplayed. Very, very fortunate to win. But the idea that I'm going to sit around on a Monday and I look at this chat board from time to time, and I'm not trying to crush everyone. Yeah, can you be pessimistic a little bit, be upset that the couple linemen got hurt, et cetera, et cetera? Sure. But like, what the hell is the point of being a fan if you wake up today and you're not happy? What are we doing? You hit the lottery last night. Yeah, you shouldn't have won. You won. It'd be like somebody sitting there playing the lottery or playing a scratch off, for better terms, scratching off the ticket and being like, well, the person that made these things, they messed up. There's a glitch. I won. Are you not going to turn it in and be happy about it? At some point, as a Bengals fan, you'd have to realize that it is what it is. It's so hard to win in this league, and especially win playoff games, that you can't take it for granted. And I guess the next question, and I don't want to jump forward with the expectations, and we'll get into the gauging the expectations after this quick little segment, but it's like, just listen. It's okay to understand that things didn't go right, but then also just say, you know what, who gives a damn? Let's move on to next week. That's what I'd be doing. I wouldn't be worried about what happened last night from an X's and O's strategy. I really wouldn't care, because this league has proven one thing and one thing only. Week to week, it doesn't matter. Things change dramatically, right? One week, the Bengals look terrible against the Browns. Next week, they go off and they haven't lost since. I seen very, very, very smart football people writing the Bengals off after 0-2 start, saying they had no chance to make the playoffs. There's your Super Bowl, what do they call it? The Super Bowl hangover? There's your Super Bowl hangover. It's the Bengals. Is it the Bengals or is it the Rams? So before you jump to conclusions on a Monday morning talking about how you have no chance against the Bills is absurd. It's like, stop being a fan. And I'm not even a Bengals fan. I'm telling you this. Stop being a fan if you're not happy today because of whatever happened. It's Your life as a fan will always be miserable if you just assume that you have to win the last game to be happy, because not many people win the last game. Not many people. In fact, over the course of your entire life, call it 70 years, I'd say roughly what? 45 cities? 45 cities maybe? Or 45 times a city, I should say. I don't want to say 45 cities. 45 times a city is going to be happy. Out of the 45 years, I'd say 30 times the team's going to win. Like, there's going to be a do-over is what I'm saying. Like, in Kansas City, you would expect to win more than one. In Cincinnati, if you're going to hang your hat on the idea of being happy after a Super Bowl win, it's going to happen twice in your life maybe.
Right.
What's the point?
That's the point that I've always tried to make, and not to get into this discussion again about the difference between college fandom and NFL fandom. That is what has always turned me off about the college fandom, is the idea that you have to have style points, right? You got to win by so many points. In the NFL, you just win the ball game and you move on, and you give your hats off for John Harbaugh, regardless of how he handled the final 2 minutes. He had the team in a credible position and executed the game plan to perfection. And then you just end up winning the ball game and you move on. That's all it is. The most toxic thing a fan base can do is when you're not winning enough, is thinking you're not winning enough when you're winning ball games and are one of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, Paul obviously put in the group chat last night. I don't know exactly what you said. It was late. I was tired. I think you said something along the lines, that's a win.
Oh, yeah.
It's a win.
It's true.
That's all that mattered, right? Like, I was sitting there and I was just thinking to myself, what do I think about this game? And I've talked a lot on this show about how much I've followed the Bills because of my friend. Mm-hmm. And I look at the Bills, I hear the Bills incessantly. I listen to year after year after year of Bills talk. I get it. This is going to be a long week for me. It's going to be a strenuous week for me. But I was just so happy after. I was like, who cares, right? Who cares? That was a win.
What about?
We spent the money.
Right.
We spent the money.
We saw them win.
We went down. We had a life experience, as Trace says. We won.
What about what Thom said about Luke, his son Luke? He gets in the car, and it's like they watched two completely different games. At the game, you don't realize how bad the Bengals looked. And that's actually bravo to the fans, because there was not a single Ravens fan in the crowd. So anytime the Ravens did anything
I had one 2 rows in front of me.
Oh, God. He
wasn't obnoxious, though. He was fine.
Anytime that the Ravens did something well, there wasn't a peep in the entire stadium. Because if there was 70,000 people there might have been the whole dozen Ravens fans that showed up.
Yeah.
So when you're watching the game live, you had no idea how bad things really were.
Yeah.
You really didn't. And you walk out and you won. So that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Theo.
I was going to say that experience of Hubbard's play. Me and
my gosh.
My mom and I were there. My stepdad sitting on basically 20 rows up on the goal line where it happened. He runs it back. And I've experienced some pretty cool things as a fan in the stands, whether it be Pike to Bins in Pittsburgh in 2009, or when I was working the Bengals Chiefs AFC Championship game last year, being there for that kick. This is number 3. I mean, there are beers flying. I'm jumping off my seat. I knocked my mom's glasses off her face, celebrating. People are throwing popcorn, beer. I mean, it was complete pandemonium for 20 seconds. And then once I got home and saw the call from Tirico, that was fantastic.
I'll be honest. Are we in the trust tree, fellas?
Yeah.
Had a tear in my eye.
You cried?
No, I didn't cry, but I did have a tear in my eye.
I was in the opposite.
I also was jumping so hard I didn't realize it was Sam Hubbard. So then when I saw the thing, I was just going, because to me, I was like, oh, he's going to score. And I was just running him. I was turning around. We were all hugging before he even scored. And then I realized it was Sam Hubbard. I was like, oh, this is even better.
Right. Yeah. So you guys were all in the south end zone, right?
I was in the opposite end zone.
Oh, you were in the north with me.
So by the time...
I was on the north side of the field.
Okay, yeah. So by the time, and I couldn't see his number. And by the time he got to midfield and I had kind of realized what was going on, because it all happened really quick. And I was looking down when the play snapped. I didn't see the snap of the play.
Right.
So I was all out of sorts. And my brain was catching up to what was going on. And then I didn't see the number. And then it just was pandemonium. It was unbelievable.
The guy in front of me, you couldn't see the actual play happen because it was on the opposite side of the field. The guy right in front of me goes was that a fumble? And then you just see Sam running and then you're like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then you lose it. Great game.
Yeah, it's an all-time moment in Cincinnati sports history, in my opinion. I mean, there's not that many
like specific moments that you can like point to and say that was the specific difference in a game. Like
not as cool as the Mark Lewis Grand Slam.
Well, maybe not. But I'm just saying in general, there's not many times in a football game where you can point to one specific play and say that at the end of the day was the exact difference. If the Ravens punch that in, I think they win. They didn't. So they lost. Simple as that. Gauging expectations really fast, fellas. I don't want to spend a whole ton of time on this because I want to talk about really the narratives, the league itself, the big bad Bills. Let's get to the big bad Bills here in a little bit. I can't wait to talk about the Bills. I just say, like, at this point in the season, I'm not saying as a Bengals fan that you should be satisfied with like 100% happiness, but I think there needs to be reasonable expectations going forward as far as like where your heart lies in this whole situation. The Bengals have suffered through a lot of injuries. They've persevered through a lot of circumstances that they did not foresee coming, and to expect them to win the whole damn thing, I think is asking a hell of a lot. Now, does it mean they can't? No. Does it mean that your heart's not going to be like worn right on your sleeve during this Bills game? No. But I don't want to hear anyone complaining about Zack Taylor. I don't want to hear anyone complaining about the Bengals season, no matter what happens on Sunday. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, as an outsider, the Bengals have had a good season. It depends on whether or not you call it great in a couple weeks, but they've had a good season. And the idea of thinking that it could be a failure no matter what happens on Sunday is blasphemy. And that's the expectation part. I see people in the chat talking about like, well, the Bills are going to run through them. Well, we'll talk about the big bad Bills in a second, but are they? I mean, Casey said it perfectly earlier. And we'll go around the room and talk about like what you're most proud of or what you like the most about the Bengals team. Here's my thought from an outside perspective. Casey said it about as good as one can say it earlier. The Bengals are a defensive-minded football team that just so happens to have weapons on offense that from time to time can step up and make beautiful plays, and you can hang your hat on the fact that they're beautiful-looking highlights. But the reason this Bengals team wins games has nothing to do with the offensive line, has nothing to do, I don't say nothing, that'd be strong, but not a whole lot to do, in my opinion, with the offensive weapons we all talk about. It has a lot to do with the fact that they always find ways on the defensive side of the ball to make stops when they need it the most, and they've done it time and time and time again.
Are you giving
Fellas,
credit to Lou Anarumo? Are you giving credit to Lou Anarumo?
Time out. Here's the misperception of me and the whole Lou thing. I just find it hilarious that he gets all of this credit for all of these things in the second half and watching him cook when it's just they have a good defense. They have good players. And I think far too often coaches are criticized way too much when things go bad, and they're given way too much credit when things go good. Last night, you could say whatever you want about Lou, but they were getting carved up, getting absolutely diced up last night. Thankfully, they made a play, but it wasn't because of Lou. So that's my whole point with the Lou thing. It's just like sitting here and being like, you know, giving a man credit that I don't know. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve any credit. I'm just not here to say that he's Bill Belichick, for all God's sake.
Hey, you can't say that we win ball games because of our defense. Then you can't then immediately give credit away from the defensive coordinator. It's okay to be a King Lou guy. We welcome you on board, Trace, with open arms. We love King Lou over here.
Leader of men.
We love him. But you are right about if you're not happy today as a Bengals fan, then stop being a fan because there's no point. You'll never be happy. You'll have a miserable existence if you can't look at the wins in the postseason as a joyous moment. And it felt like, to answer your question about the expectations, it felt like we met expectations as long as we beat anybody but the Bills or the Chiefs, right? As long as we didn't lose to those two teams, we met expectations because those are the teams that we think we're on a similar pedestal of. So if we lose to anybody else in the postseason, then it feels like a letdown. We didn't do that. We either are going to we got a chance to beat the Bills this weekend and then moving forward. So we've met the expectations. Anything now is gravy.
Nick Kirby, see his comment?
No, I did not. What did he say?
He loves the Mark Lewis Grand Slam, Reed.
Love it.
Loves the Mark Lewis Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Hamilton native.
I just, again, we'll send it over to the the computer station. I don't know exactly what we want to call that. The producers over there, and get their thoughts on it. I will give all the credit in the world to Lou, but I think that at some point you just say it is what it is. They have good defensive players. That's why they're good on defense. Pretty simple.
I agree, but you've seen also the players got better, scheme got better from the first couple of years. It's a combined effort. I will say, Lou coming off the field last night, he was like pumping up the crowd, which you rarely see a lot of personality out of Lou. So that was pretty fun to see. And then if you go on the Bengals Twitter and watch the victory speech where they're giving out the game balls from Zack Taylor, he gives it to Lou, and Lou drops, I would think, an F-bomb and spikes the ball in the middle of the locker room. So I was fired up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to quote one of my favorite sports analysts, Shannon Sharp. Two things can't be true at once. And Lou Anarumo's a really good coach, and we have really good players. And the two of them together make a really good football team. So that's all I got to say about that.
That's fair. So I'm going to jump to something really quick, which goes with the QB narratives. I think I've softened my heart significantly when it comes to QBs. I watched the NFL slate. It's the first time I've really got a chance to watch full games in their entirety, right? I'm an NFL red zone kind of guy. I know Thom always makes fun of folks like us. I watch the Packers for the most part in their entirety, and then I watch NFL red zone. So you don't get a chance to see these guys play all that often, right? You look at the box scores. You look to see whether or not they won or lost. I've come to the conclusion that there's a lot of good NFL quarterbacks. It just comes down to whether or not you have an offensive line and whether or not you have a system in place that allows you to be good or not. Now, I will say there are still ones out there that I don't believe in, that I don't think are good. But Kirk Cousins impressed the hell out of me. I've never seen Kirk Cousins rip footballs like that, and maybe it's just because I haven't been paying attention enough. But Kirk Cousins was making great throws. I know they didn't win the game, but they lost that game. And if I didn't watch that game, I'd have this narrative that, I seen a clip on the internet that Kirk Cousins throws, and it was dumb, throws a 4-yard pass on a 4th and 10 or whatever it ended up being. I don't know if you guys even seen the clip. But he makes a dump-off pass when they needed a first down. It reminded me of Dobbs a few weeks back. And but let me tell you something. Kirk Cousins played incredibly well. And I'm going to get off the train of thinking he sucks. I actually think Kirk Cousins is good.
You saw good Kirk.
Casey, I'm sending you something to pull up right now if you can.
Okay.
The NFL as a whole, the quarterback play over the past 10 years is so much higher than it was when we were kids. I mean, can you imagine John Kentna slinging the pigskin around in the NFL nowadays? Good golly, not a chance in HE double hockey sticks. And Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, guys like that who we think are, middle to upper middle, those guys would be legends 15 years ago. That's just the NFL as a whole has gotten better, as sports as a whole just continue to get better.
Look at this, Trace.
Yeah, this is the one Hail Mary throw that the guy can make. Go ahead. I've seen it.
The better part of this was the caption from somebody. Luke Sawhook tweeted this. It looks like he goes to Miami.
I've seen this clip.
And it says Justin Fields.
You know who else made a really good throw? And I don't know off the top of my head. In 2014, I know there's some Buckeye fans in the chat. You're going to be able to tell me. There was a wide receiver pass in that game, the 2014 game against Alabama, and the kid threw an absolute dime. I mean, he looked like it might have been the best throw in the game. It was that good. So my point is that a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I'm not going to get on this Justin Fields train. I'm trying to stay off of that right now with the QB narratives. We're going to move Justin Fields aside. I do think the best thing that could happen for the Bears organization, they could draft Bryce Young and or CJ Stroud and then move Fields to running back, and they'd have the best backfield in the entire NFL. But they're not going to do that because they're a bad organization, and they've proved it for years. Moving on. The other narratives that I've learned of, Daniel Jones. He's a good quarterback. Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. Hey! First time I've watched Daniel Jones play for more than maybe 5 snaps all year long. And maybe it was just because they were playing the Vikings and their Swiss cheese defense. Maybe that's why it was. But I'm going to tell you something, Paul. I've never seen him play. Daniel Jones can play.
Look, he can sling it. Not every game. Not every game.
Daniel Jones is like the one news topic. Like I'll throw something out there that you don't fully understand. Like when they talk about like the bond market crashing or something like that. Like you just like you don't hear about it for forever, and then all of a sudden people will be like, Daniel Jones with a good game. You're like, wait, like we still talking if Daniel Jones is good? It's 3 times a year in the NFL season. Like, should the Giants extend Daniel Jones? Should they commit to Daniel Jones? And they're like, are we still talking about Daniel Jones? What am I missing here? And then you watch him play, and he does well. You're like, okay. Then you watch him play, and he does shitty. And you're like, okay, now I understand why we have this discussion 6 times a year about whether they should extend him or not.
Yeah.
Lure Up does bring up a beautiful point in the Chicago Bears offense. He said the flea flickers. Could you imagine the halfback passes? I'm just saying. I mean, that's a dynamic offense if I've ever seen one. You want to flip the NFL on its head? Throw Justin Fields at running back. They need that pitch out to the right isn't going to be a pitch anymore. It's going to be a screen pass.
They draft another quarterback, and they just have them both stand in the backfield at the same time, and you don't know who it's going to snap to.
I don't know. They should give some thought in Chicago. It can't get any worse. Go ahead.
Well, you're gonna dive in. You don't think Justin Herbert deserves any flack this weekend?
I think Justin Herbert missed on a couple throws. Right? I do think he missed on a couple throws that might have made the difference in the game. But to sit here and think that Justin Herbert somehow isn't a top level quarterback, or somehow look at him in Joe Burrow, this whole Joe Burrow and Herbert thing is just, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's a weird thing. They don't play in the same division. The guy plays completely across the other side of the country. You don't really ever get the chance to really watch the two of them play at the same time. They've never really played each other outside of like maybe one time. Have they ever even started against each other? I don't know. I do understand they came out of the same draft class. I do understand the notion that one fan base wants to argue that the one's better than the other. I'm going to plead the fifth and say they're both great. And that's okay to say, because the idea that Trevor Lawrence is getting praise after the football game that he played, and somehow Herbert isn't getting any love, and he's the reason they lost, then I guess it's just a one-on-one drill. Like, football no longer is about a defense. It's no longer about special teams. It's no longer about whether or not your offensive linemen can expose their will on the other defensive line to be able to run the ball for 4 or 5 or 6 yards a carry. Now it's just, what quarterback do you have? And that's so ridiculous. And I know it's sports talk, and I know it's fandom, but the idea that now Herbert is getting crushed because he lost that game, it reminds me of like sitting here saying that, I don't know, Drew Brees isn't any good because he couldn't ever get to the big one. Or whoever else, whatever quarterback you want to pluck off the tree there. It's low-hanging fruit. I get it. They lost. They blew a big lead. But Herbert didn't turn the ball over one time and didn't play that bad of a game. Somehow Trevor Lawrence is the man. He threw 4 interceptions. Make it make sense, people. It doesn't. And the crazy thing is, as Bengal fans, you want the guy to fail to do what? So the Chiefs have a walk-in home playoff game to get to the Super Bowl? Because that's what they have. You can convince yourself all you want. Go ahead, folks. Convince yourself all you want to think they have a chance against the Chiefs. They have no chance. This is the same guy that sat up here and told you that the Bills were going to have a tough game against the Dolphins. You just had a chance to host a home playoff game, possibly, at home against the Chargers, and instead, now, you're going to have to go play in Kansas City, which I'm not saying you should be scared of. I'm just saying that's the truth. So I've almost become a Herbert stan because of everyone else. I just say that he's a damn good quarterback, can sling the ball, can make all the throws. Doesn't have that many guys around him that are very good, if we're being honest. Plays for the Chargers. It's not like this guy's playing, for the Ravens. I would understand that. Or the Browns, or the Steelers. I don't get it, guys. That's all I'm getting at. It bothers the hell out of me because the guy's like, I watch NFL football. I'm like, that guy's fun to watch. He throws the shit out of the ball. But now Bengals fans are like, no, he sucks. You see Joe Burrow last night? You see Joe Burrow in the second half last night? He won them that game. They look great. It's like, I don't want to crush Joe Burrow up here. But Joe Burrow didn't do a whole lot last night that would make me think that he's the reason the Bengals won. But he is good. He is great. He does a lot with less sometimes. I'm not going to turn this into Joe Burrow slander from my perspective on trying to defend Herbert because Joe Burrow's great. And so is Herbert. So is Herbert. That's my last thing on the whole thing.
Bills.
Well, I was just going to go into to at least clarify why there is a rivalry there, and it is a weird rivalry, right? Because they, like you said, they don't play in the same division. They've only played against each other twice. So it's just the fact that they came in the same draft class and pretty immediately showed success. So then everyone starts going like, dude, this Justin Herbert guy's great. Hey, this Joe Burrow guy's great. So then it becomes a competition between these two fan bases here in our little ecosystem of Twitter, to where every time Joe Burrow does something bad, Chargers are in Bengals fans' mentions like, Justin Herbert's way better. And the same thing goes vice versa. Anytime that Justin Herbert does something bad, Bengals fans hop on Chargers. And it's just kind of organically become this rivalry, albeit a weird one. And to say why Bengals fans were hopping on Justin Herbert, if you're going to have this rivalry and the opposite side blows a 27-point lead, that seems about as good a time of any to jump on and, stake a flag and saying, man, our guy's better than your guy. And that's the whole point. It's just fandoms being fans. Not that it's right, not that it's wrong. It's just what fans do.
Okay, well, that's fine. There's not a logical explanation for it. It's just because fans are fans. And that's fair. That's a good enough answer for me. But
and I'd say both played pretty similarly in their playoff game.
Yeah, just one has a way better team. One guy has a hell of a defense. One guy has 3 elite receivers and a pretty good pair of running backs. Now, his offensive line is trash.
He is trash.
But it is what it is. So my whole thought on the QB narratives, to get this out of the way, is this. I actually think there's a lot of good QBs in this league. You just got to put them in the right place at the right time. Purdy's a beautiful example of that as well. So I'm not gonna say every quarterback's great, but I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this league. A lot of them.
Give me a number. How many good quarterbacks out of the 32 starters?
I'd say 25 of them can win a Super Bowl.
Damn.
Oh, what?
Yep.
Wow.
Are you telling me 25 quarterbacks can't win a Super Bowl with the 49ers?
Oh, well.
No. Oh. Go ahead. I want to hear you tell me which guys can't win a Super Bowl with the 49ers, Casey.
Hang on. Let me pull this up real quick. I want to see. I've got to look at all these teams. Kenny Pickett probably could not win a Super Bowl with the 49ers. I mean, he's got a similar defense.
One.
I think Kenny Pickett's kind of.
I'll tell you what. I want you to think on that while we talk about the big bad Bills.
Let me think on it.
Because here's my thought on the Bills. I do think they're a good football team. I'm not going to sit here and take it away. They've won, 14 games, and they've gotten one taken away from them? They're obviously pretty damn good. But I don't believe they're of the same variety of a 49ers. I don't think they're the same variety of a Philadelphia Eagles. I think they play similar to the same brand of football to a certain extent, right? The smash mouth type. And I think they rely way too much on one guy. Way too much on one guy. You could say whatever you want about the Bengals. You could say that Joe Burrow gets hurt, they're screwed. Yeah, they are. Just like almost every other team in the NFL, if their starting quarterback goes down, they're screwed. Yes. But the Bengals can have a game to where, in my opinion, Joe Burrow doesn't play great and they still can win. I don't know, in the playoffs, that is. I don't think that's the case, in my opinion, for the Bills. And maybe Josh Allen can ride the wave, and maybe he plays unbelievable for the next 3 games, and they win it all. But I'm not hanging my hat on that if I'm an outsider perspective from the Buffalo situation or area, right? If you're a Bills fan, you're going to have these rose-shaded glasses. You're gonna think that you're dominant. No matter what's going to happen, you're going to eventually win, just like every other fan base for the most part. But I'm not sold on the Bills at all right now. I'm not. You've seen what happened with Miami. They went up there, and it wasn't just that Miami went up there and almost won. It's the way in which they did it, right? It's the same things that have plagued the Bills in the past, which is sloppy ball handling and a defense right now that I wouldn't compare them to the top-level defenses in this league. When Skylar Thompson, and you can say whatever you want about Skylar Thompson, and you could say, well, if they had Tua, they would have won. I don't know if they had Tua, I don't know if they would have won. Skylar Thompson was making throws. You can't drop passes time and time again that would have led to points and expect to win. Waddle, He's a great player, had a bad game. That happens. But my point is like you can't have it both ways. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, well, if Tua would have played, that they would have sure won. I actually think Skyler played well, guys. I watched the game. I thought he made throws. I will say the reason that they almost found a way to win it all in the end was because the Bills turned the ball over. And that's what the Bengals are going to have to do. So before we sit here and we act like, well, how are we going to protect Joe Burrow? Maybe you don't need to protect Joe Burrow that long. You know? There might be a situation where I'm not sold on the Bills' defense. I'm also not sold on the idea that Josh Allen isn't going to turn the ball over 3 times and you win the game that way. I'm not trying to crush the Bills, but I don't view them in the same light. Like if we did the stink list, Casey, I actually think the Bills are on a level lower, and I think at this point, to be fair, I think the Bengals have kind of slided because of injuries to that level lower to where they're not up there with the elites like I think the Bills fans think they are. Thoughts on the Bills? And I know this isn't like bulletin board material stuff. I'm just saying in general, when you guys even might not even have a chance to watch the Bills because you were tailgating, but like when you watch the Bills, does anyone actually think that they're like the same level as a Niners team or an Eagles team? Because I don't.
I think the Bills, they remind me of like Mike Tyson, right? You watch him play, you watch Mike Tyson box, and you know you see cracks in his game, you see cracks in the Bills' game, but they just got that chance to just wow you every once in a while, and the Bills do that. They're a deeply flawed team, but they still they wow you every once in a while. And the Bills are beatable. No, I don't think anybody thinks that they aren't. 49ers look almost unbeatable, though. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, you have Bills fans that are friends, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's the notion? What? I mean, I know that's a small sample size of an entire fan base, but what's their thoughts on all of it?
Oh, it's an invincible team. An invincible team that I have tried to talk some sense into that may not be so invincible, but there's a lot of optimism, I'll say that, for a Super Bowl run. Maybe I've kind of been warped into that too with how I picked my bracket last week. I don't know. But yeah, it's I think the Bills this week, they have a lot to prove, right? At home. Somebody on, I don't remember who it was, but somebody on the show last week when we were talking was talking about, is Buffalo the absolutely crazy place to play that everybody seems to make it out to say that it is? You know, is it this impenetrable home advantage that everybody makes it out to seem like it is? I don't know. They win a lot at home. They won playoff games at home. Now the Bengals can go up and give them a test in their first full game against each other.
Well, you know my take on the home field thing. I think it's maybe the most overrated thing in the NFL. As proven in the playoffs every year. How did home field treat the Vikings? If we're being honest, how did it treat the Bengals last night? I mean,
do you think we win that game if we're in Baltimore?
I mean, you could argue that under the same circumstances, I don't know if you win that game on a neutral site field, like I said, 95 of it 100 times, you probably lose. But it doesn't mean nothing, guys. I'm just saying I agree. I'm not going to hang the hat on that if they played this game in Buffalo or if they played it in Detroit or Cincinnati, that the outcome would be significantly different.
I think that the whole home field thing, I think it means something. But one thing I don't want to hear Bengals fans argue about all week is the neutral site coin flip thing. I'm over that. I'm over it.
Let's flip a coin. Flip a coin.
I'm past it. So let's
I'm ready to
just
kick everyone's ass.
Yeah, Casey. Casey, what do you think about the Bills?
You know, I kind of fall in the same line as Trace. I do think they've fallen out of that echelon just after watching them enough. I don't think they're obviously not unstoppable. To me, the only team right now that seems unstoppable is the 49ers. And honestly, if the Bills and the Bengals play and there's any sign that the Bengals can stop Josh Allen, I think it's going to be a close game. And, we didn't really get enough of a sample size from the game, in my opinion, to know whether or not the Bengals are actually going to roll Buffalo, like a lot of fans might say, just seeing that first 5 minutes of the first quarter of the game in Cincinnati. But, yeah, there's definitely a chance for the Bengals. I really do think there's a chance. I don't think the downgrade from Williams to whoever they put up there is going to be significant enough to really change how things have gone, because Williams has not really been that great. Now, there might be more. If Jackson Carman is there, I think that is actually significantly worse. Just after watching how he played against the Ravens, and it was bad. I mean, he was on his back probably 7 different times.
Casey, you know way more about all of this than I ever will. How much of a difference is the Ravens defensive end versus whoever Buffalo would have at defensive end for a guy like Carman? Like, is last night one of those situations where it's more or less maybe the guy across from him, or is it just more on Carman for just not being good?
I think it's more on just Carman not being good. I think he's shown that he just cannot pass block at all. And there's a reason why he was only in on adding that extra tackle on run plays, the heavy sets. I mean, he's really, really good at run blocking. I mean, he can drive. But when it comes to pass blocking, I don't know what his issue is. I don't know if he's just in his own head or something, or if it's mechanics. I know a lot of it has to do with some of the mechanics. But there is some issue there where he just cannot – he loses leverage too easy. He gets blown up. And it doesn't matter who's in front of him. It just seems like that is his game, which is unfortunate. I do – really wonder what they decide to do. If they bring Isaiah Prince, they bring Zay, and he can finally be the king that we all want him to be, or if they decide to move Adeniji over there, or what the plan is. But I don't think Carman can be the long-term or the playoff answer. I really don't. But that's not that's not the original question that you asked. You asked me if the Bills are legitimate or not. I don't think that they are in that top echelon. I don't think that the Bengals are out of this game at all. I think they have a good fighting chance. And the only team in my mind that's unstoppable right now is the 49ers.
And I'm going to push back a little bit on the Niners, because I think that I have a guy at quarterback that he's played great. And I'm not going to say that he's not going to continue to play great, but them lights are going to get real bright soon. And listen, Brock Purdy, it's been a good storybook run, but it only takes one really bad half of football to ruin it at the highest level. I mean, when I would personally think that the Eagles are the team that, until I see them get beat in a playoff format, then I'm going to say that they're the best team in the NFC. So I'm not even going to give the Niners – I mean, I think they look amazing, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Brock Purdy can't go out there and play one bad half of football and cost them the game.
Now, whoever wins this game tonight is who the Niners play, right? They're either going to play Tom Brady or Dak Prescott.
Yeah, not an easy out there either.
No.
This point in the postseason, every game's tough. You don't get a whole lot of gimmies.
I think the Chiefs got a gimme.
I don't.
I think the Chiefs.
Jags shocked the world.
I just don't see it.
Bengals host the AFC Championship game.
I like his scenario a lot.
Is that what it is with Bengals fans? Really quick, I'm going to ask this question to you guys. Is it more or less something that you've seen that you thought, you know what, maybe this Jags team can go into Kansas City and they can win this game? Or is it just you guys are holding on to the hope or the theory that you might get the AFC Championship at home? Both of you.
That's the dreamer in me. It's not very realistic, but I don't know. Football gods have a weird way of making things happen sometimes. I mean, that playoff run last year for the Bengals was very magical.
Let me try to give it some validity. I mean, there's got to be something said from coming back from 0 to 27.
27-0.
Whatever, 27-0. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. A team that's able to come back from 27 down, I think deserves to at least be taken seriously. I don't think that they're just an automatic L. I think they're going to be a close game, and now I'm going to trust what the system tells me too. Okay, if the system says that's not the case, then
Well, I got one system for you, Casey. Well, wait, before I say this. Is this game Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Oh,
Trevor
baby.
Lawrence on a
Trevor's
Saturday.
undefeated
Never
on
lost
Saturday.
on a Saturday.
Yeah, in
High school, college, NFL. He's never lost.
Oh, boy.
In the vault. In the vault. Put it in there.
Hammer it.
Look, it's just a stat.
So one question I have about are the Ravens the best defense that the Bengals would play in a run?
I think so.
At least on the AFC side, right? Like
Yeah.
the Bills, the Chiefs, or the Jaguars do not have as good of a defense as the
No.
Ravens.
No.
And you could argue that the Eagles or the 49ers do, but they're pretty comparable, right? That's the toughest defense the Bengals will play.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Just wondering. Just questionable.
How much of the whole notion of you got nothing to lose matters? Do you think that
Yes.
goes? Do you think that matters at all? In
For Jacksonville?
What, playing with house money for Jacksonville?
I'd also say the Bengals are playing with house money, man. Are they not?
Nah.
I don't know. If I'm waking
This
up
is where
today
we-
as a Bengal fan, or not even a fan as a player, I'm thinking, you know what? Hell with it. I don't care who we got on the O-line, whether they're healthy or not. We got a chance to go to Buffalo and win when we should have probably never had a chance. No? Is that too crazy to think? I know the Jags definitely feel that way, but
I felt like they expected to be in a divisional game, so that's where we've met the expectations, right? To answer your earlier question, we've met the expectations, but I don't think it's a playing with house money kind of thing. I think the Jaguars are in that situation.
well, we'll see. There's nowhere in my head. Obviously, if the system comes out and it says the Jags, you're going to hear me come up with some slanderous way of trying to figure out how the Jags are winning this game. I don't see it, man. I just don't see how in the world the Jaguars. You said there's something to be said about someone that came back from 27-0.
0-27.
0-27 is what he said. There's also something to be said, Casey, about the fact that you were down 27-0 at home.
Right.
At home.
Patrick Mahomes also came back in the postseason down 24-0, so people forget that. So both teams have.
They were also up 21-3 last year in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, here's the thing. Someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was, asked if you can
What's that?
come back and win, grind out a win, or just make the final play. And I think the Jags can do all those. They've proved it in the regular season. When they came back and beat the Cowboys, they made the final play, the 2-point conversion to beat the Ravens. I mean, I think this team is equipped enough, depending on the scenario, to make a serious push against the Chiefs. I don't think it's going to be an easy road for them. And they've got some serious pass rushers. I like the pair of pass rushers a lot. Josh Allen and is it Walk? No, it's not Walker. Who's the Georgia kid?
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah. I really like them a lot.
Yeah, he's a good player, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs. I've sat up here and said I don't know if they're as good as everyone always makes them out to be. You've heard my take on their quarterback. I'm not going to get into the whole Mahomes situation. I think that again, he's a guy that is he's a. I'll use the word great hesitantly. I think that he's been very fortunate in his career. We'll go down that path, but at the end of the day, he's a good player. He's a guy that can make plays. I don't know if I'm going to sleep on the Chiefs as hard as some people have been sleeping on them. You know, I mean, they've proven time and time again they're a pretty damn good out or a pretty tough out in the playoffs, and I don't see the Jaguars standing any chance to win that game. And hey, I hope I'm wrong. If the Bengals were to host the AFC Championship against the Jaguars, you know what's about Cincinnati being on fire?
Place would be nuts.
Yeah, it'd be
nuts.
It'd be burning to the ground. That's how crazy
it'd be yesterday times a million.
Oh, it'd be.
It'd be wild.
The get-in price would be $500.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt.
All right, we're gonna go to the vault. I don't know. I haven't really dug into this today. I don't think there's a whole lot. There's not a whole lot.
There's college basketball going on
There's
right now.
college basketball going on right now.
NBA.
Full transparency. The pick I was going to give has already hit. So
What were you going to give?
Georgetown first half. It's literally. I think it might have hit every game this season.
What was
Georgetown
it? Probably like
first half
plus 7
plus
or
8.
+8.
+8, and they are down 4 right now.
Seems like a lot of hindsight betting over here, Paul.
They're down. If you're in the Discord, you would have seen the pick.
Can we get something out of the way real fast? I've seen this come up in the chat a few times, and I'm not trying to make I don't want to come off as an asshole. I guess the only word that comes to my mind. But the idea that sports are scripted or the NFL is scripted is just, we shouldn't even have this conversation. It's literally impossible. Secrets in the NFL. Look at all the scandals that go on in sports that you find out about because nobody can keep a secret. Could you imagine there being how many players in the NFL?
Right, thousands and thousands. Currently, there's 32 times 56, so whatever that equals out to.
All of those players,
1,500.
All of those players are able to keep a secret.
No, it's not scripted.
Of course it's not scripted. We all know that. So there's no point in even talking about it. So we're going to move on from that. But do we have any winners for tonight?
Purdue plays Michigan State. They're 3.5-point favorites in Tom Izzo's house. Purdue, number 3 team in the country.
I like that too. I've seen that. Why is everyone all over Michigan State though? That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
They're looking better.
They're looking better. They just lost on
better.
Friday to Illinois. Lost a big lead.
I had that pick.
Illinois -9
Fantastic.
was my pick tonight.
So,
but I'm not in the vault, so I'm still outside the vault.
Come on, give us a pick.
God, this weekend.
Give us a pick.
Paul, we're gonna save you from the
Saturday
depths of hell.
night. Trace texted me.
Oh no.
And I was down about. The vibes changed real fast. I mean, it was changed on a whim.
Flip the script.
Because UCLA, I parlayed UCLA and Texas Live. Didn't get me nearly all the way back, but it made the day a little more manageable. Saturday was brutal. So there's just a lot of upsets. And there's 2 or 3 Saturdays every college basketball season where that happens. That was this past Saturday. I was just looking at the matchups, and I didn't think that it would happen like that. Like Kentucky, like what I was telling Brandon. I fully expected Kentucky to pull a game like that.
Where's my round of applause? Where are my flowers?
No, you were on it. You were on it. But I was down bad. About 8:30 Saturday night, I was on full tilt. I was as bad. I was down as bad as I've been in a long time.
You guys all
then
laughed
things
at me.
rebounded.
All laughed at me.
I'm gonna bet UCLA. They don't play till Thursday, but I've decided I'm gonna bet UCLA unders until I lose, because I've hit 4 in a row.
Oh yeah, those are smacking too.
I just bet UCLA under and don't even think about it, and it's hit.
How did our parlay do?
I don't even know. It lost its first leg, so then it
all right.
Went to kaput after that.
Okay.
But I've got to sit here and I've got to own last Friday's show. I mean, Trace made this big take against the Bills and the Dolphins, and he said not only that the Dolphins would cover, which they obviously did, said they'd have a chance to win pretty early on. That was evidently true, and I pushed back against you, said that there was no way that my mind could wrap around the Dolphins being able to beat the Bills, and sure as it can be, came down to the wire on that one. So I've got to eat my words. I was dead wrong in the rights, and I've just got to learn. Now when Trace talks, I've got to listen. It's
can't. Not that. You know what it is. It's the thing that we've all become cult leaders to in this office, that it's okay to just say that's why. It's okay just to blindly have faith in that. Has it really let you down ever? I mean, it might maybe once out of every 20 times has that ever really let us significantly down. I know one that it has.
In big games it has.
Marquette against North Carolina last year, big letdown. But outside of that, most of the time it's right.
UC against Bama.
It did. UC Bama. And honestly,
really
we're talking about UC football. UC football, I don't know. Maybe
that's a fade, automatic.
UC football last year, I think they could have and should have been in that football game. But that's here nor there. That's a long overdue. Seho supposedly knows puck. Do you know puck tonight?
No puck tonight. No puck tonight. I had a rough Sunday of
So are we taking a Monday off? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're just gonna do a small bet on the Buccaneers.
You're taking the Bucs.
Bucs money line. That's all.
Okay.
I'm taking the Jazz tonight. Not money line.
Uh-oh. If Casey's talking NBA, he's seeing some percentages
true.
over there, baby.
That's true.
He's seeing percentages.
I also
Casey
really.
knows. Casey
I
knows.
am going to say one more thing about college basketball.
$1. I am going to say. That
Okay.
counts.
All right, that counts.
We've got another one, Trace. Which
I've been cooking this one up, but do we?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll go ahead. We got.
Can I guess what? Can I guess what it is? I know it's a tick that I have. You ready for it?
You say it's probably 6 to 8 times a show.
Having said that,
no. I mean, yes, you do say that, but everybody needs like something to move the sentence along.
Right.
That's yours. I won't
Which
get
one
on
is
you
it?
about that. It's when you switch to a new topic and you say, "I don't want to spend a ton of time on this."
all right, fair.
That's almost every topic.
Every topic in the history of this show starts off of, we're not going to talk about this for too long, or we're not going to spend a whole lot of time about it.
That's like Thom.
And then
We're
we
not
spend a
getting into
half
it.
hour on that topic, which is fine. I mean, that's why we're doing the show. That's why we have all the topics. We want to spend time.
I love that. No, that's fair. I know I do
It's
that.
real-time grading.
I know I do that.
Anyway, no, what I was going to say is I have a free bet right now on Georgetown money line. I am bound and determined to be on the Hoyas when they finally win a Big East game.
Against Nova, too.
I'm at Nova. I'm
Nova.
bound and determined to finally be on the right. They're not going to win today.
That game's live right now, correct?
It is. Their second half.
Get out the Betfred app.
If you guys want an appetizer went 4-2 last week. The early bets, you get your belly rumbling. There's some games today. If you want an appetizer,
It's tied.
take the over in the first half of the Purdue-Michigan State game.
I'll ride this with you.
62. 4-2 last week on the appetizers. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's not a whole lot of thought process in. You just look at a line, and then it's got to be an early game, and you bet a first half. Those are the only rules of the appetizer. But they hit well last week, so we'll keep it rolling. First half, Purdue, Michigan State over 62. So there you go.
All right. Maybe I'm a square for this, but the Betfred Sportsbook, I don't want to call it the pick of the day, but are the Cowboys just too obvious of a choice? Is anyone in their right mind think that Tom Brady, when you've watched him all year long,
Yes.
and this Buccaneers team
Yes.
can win a game?
Yes.
I just don't see it, Seho. And maybe you can
America's team. Fraud.
explain to me how the Cowboys lose this game. I don't know how in the hell they lose this game.
It just feels like a game the Cowboys are going to lose. I have no definition. I have no stats. I have no analogy. It just feels like Tom Brady's going to go beat the Cowboys, and, yeah, that's all I have. Just total gut.
I mean, like, no matter
That was
what,
the Kentucky feeling, too.
like, no matter what you pick, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, we should have seen this coming.
Isn't it?
Good point, Casey.
Isn't it funny that if it was a better quarterbacking the Buccaneers, like say I think we can all agree that Trevor Lawrence is probably a better quarterback at this place in time than Tom Brady.
Yep.
If Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback of the Buccaneers for this game, the line would be Cowboys -7.
That's how I feel.
It'd be a 5-point difference in the line. The only reason that the line is where it's at is because the quarterback of the Buccaneers just happens to be a 45-year-old version of the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady.
Right.
It's the only reason. And the Cowboys have had postseason woes.
Well, the Bucs center's back today, too. That's big. He got activated.
We know centers change ball games.
What about the Buccaneers? They're just such a bipolar type team, though, right? To where they did it in the Bengals game. The first half of the Bengals game, they look legit. Great defense. And in the second half, they look like the Buccaneers have looked time and time again. And that's scary when you're trying to place a wager on one side or the other because you just don't know what you're going to get. It almost feels like the Cowboys. I have to bet the Cowboys because if I don't, I'm just going to be. I'd rather just hand my money over and lose it because I was just completely way off base again than to sit at home, not bet this game. I'd rather lose money than to sit at home, not bet this game, and the Cowboys go out and they win by 21 points.
I think Casey said it best is whoever covers this game tonight, you're going to be like, we could have saw that from a mile away. Yeah. Right? Because if the Cowboys cover, you're like, yeah, they're the better team. If Tom Brady covers and the Buccaneers cover, like, yeah, they got Tom Brady. I'll throw $1 in the jar because I stopped it before, but I'll say it anyways. I will say this. Has a team come into the postseason worse than the Cowboys just limped in? I mean, they just played the Commanders, who had nothing to play for. We're playing their backup quarterback in Sam Howell. And the Cowboys played everybody, started everybody, because they needed to win a game for the outside chance that they could be the NFC East winner. And they lost 26-6 to a backup quarterback playing for nothing in the Commanders. Yeah. That's something that you talk about limping into the postseason.
Wait a second. Kirby.
Bucs, let's ride.
Kirby has a development in the chat. The Georgetown Hoyas at the under 16 timeout are winning 44-42.
Hell yeah. Let's get some lunch.
Are we sure of that? Or I read that backwards.
I
read that as
plus 300.
Am I wrong? Hold on.
Plus 300 money
my body is shaking. I'm so hungry. So
yeah.
I have not eaten a real meal in like 2 days. So
Hoyas lead. You're not lying. Hoyas lead.
Hoyas
lead.
44-42.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. And if you don't do it, then you're not. Then ADP's not gonna run the next payroll on your specific account. You got to put at least $5 on it, and I don't care if this is illegal or not. You got to ride with the Hoyas right now, live on the money
I'm in
line.
at plus 680.
Well, it doesn't. We're not going to get it as good as you got it.
Oh, okay.
We're on it in the second half, up by 2, but we're going to ride that.
I already
we're
hit
going
it
to ride it into lunch.
Plus 220.
We got to go
I
find.
got it at plus 300.
So we got to go. We got to go find somewhere right now to ride this out with Paul and get him back in good graces because my man Paul was down bad. He's been down bad. But we're gonna, like I said,
Patrick Ewing,
gonna get him out of the grave.
We'll get out of the grave. I trust this group to get me out of the grave.
All right.
Where do you want to go?
Do
we have a wheel of lunch, or do we just want to make a decision and go? Because
what's a quick place with a little TV?
Yeah.
Taco Bell doesn't have a TV.
No. 15 minutes, 56 seconds left. 44.
But we could just
42.
Get food and watch it here.
We could just go to McDonald's and watch the end here.
Yeah.
Seems like the most likely thing.
Or anywhere around the corner.
All right.
I'll tell you what we're gonna do too. Casey, you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Casey's the one who's gonna have to figure out how to do it. If we get back from lunch and there's 8 minutes left or less, and the Georgetown Hoyas are within 4 points or less, we're just gonna go live and ride this thing out with everybody. I don't know how many people will be back. But right now, if you want to hang out with us in the next 30 minutes, you can get on your phone on the Betfred app. I don't even think there's other apps, just Betfred. But get on the app. Toss whatever you want to toss on Georgetown. $1. Put $1 on it if you want to. And then come back and hang out with us. But if it's not close, we're not going back. We're not going live.
Yeah.
But if it is, we're going to go live. We're going to sweat this thing out together. We might be back in 30 minutes. We might not.
Get in the Discord, too.
We'll find. Get in the Discord. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday. Tom will be back tomorrow. Better than ever. Thank you for making us part of your day. Take care. We'll be back maybe or maybe not in 30 minutes. See ya.